Americans die, we are going to change that dynamic. And on top of all that, we end up spending far more than any other country for healthcare, almost 3 times the British, 50% more than the French, and far more than the Canadians. And that is why, together, we will fight for a Medicare for all healthcare system. Our proposal guarantees healthcare, comprehensive healthcare to all, saves middle-class families thousands of dollars a year on their healthcare bills. Everybody in this room, in this arena, understands a very profound political point, and that is that in our country, real change never takes place from the top on down, always occurs from the bottom on up. Years ago, when workers were being exploited ruthlessly, or being treated like animals and had no rights on the job, very brave people came together and said, we are going to form unions, we're going to engage in collective bargaining. You had incredibly brave African Americans and their white allies saying that in America we are going to fight for a country where segregation, racism, bigotry does not exist. Those people, black and white and Latino, they marched out on the streets, they went to jail, some of them died, but they fought to fight against racism in America from the bottom on up. 100 years ago today, and many young people don't even know this, 100 years ago today, women did not have the right to vote, did not have the right to get the education they want, did not have the right to do the work they wanted to do. But women and their male allies said, no, in America, women will not be second-class citizens. We will fight against sexism. And women went to jail, incredibly courageous. 100 years ago, women standing up on hunger strikes, went to jail, died, and they ended up getting the right to vote and making major advances against sexism. If we were in this arena 10 years ago, no time at all, from a historical perspective, I want you to think about it. 10 years ago, somebody here jumps up and says, you know, Bernie, I think that by the year 2015, gay people in this country will be able to marry in 50 states in America. If somebody said that 10 years ago, the person next to him would have said, you are nuts, what are you smoking? Now, but what happened is that for decades, against incredible bigotry, vicious bigotry, the gay community and their straight allies said over and over again that in this country, people have the right to love whoever they want to love. About how real change takes place. And that's what I'm talking about. How do we make real change? If we were here 7 years ago, no time ago, somebody jumps up and says, you know, Bernie, this federal minimum wage of $7.25 is a starvation wage. People can't live on it. We are going to have to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. Now, if somebody said that 7 years ago, the person next to him said, you're crazy. You're talking about more than doubling the federal minimum wage. You're nuts. It can't happen. That's too radical an idea. But you know what happened? Very brave people in the fast food industry, McDonald's, and a Burger King, and a Wendy's, they went out on strike, and they protested. And they made the case that every American deserves a living wage. And then you know what happened? In Seattle, $15 an hour. In Los Angeles, in San Francisco, in Oregon, $15 an hour. My point is that what starts off as a radical idea, in a few years people say, of course, 7 1/4 is starvation. Of course people need $15 an hour. Where we are right now is at a pivotal moment in American history where I believe millions of people are looking around and they are saying the status quo is not acceptable. They are saying it is too late for establishment politics, establishment economics, the same old, same old. They are saying, look, let's be clear, people who are funded by Wall Street and the drug companies are really not going to be the agents of change that we need. People all over this country are looking around and they're suddenly seeing it. Now, the media doesn't talk about it. That's another problem that we have. But people are looking around and saying, why is the middle class of this country disappearing? Why do we have grotesque levels of income and wealth inequality? Why is it that we are the only major country on earth without paid family and medical leave, without health care for all? Why are millions of people leaving school and going deeply in debt? Why do we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth? Why do we have more people in jail than any other country? Why do we have a campaign finance system that allows billionaires to buy elections? Why do we have veterans sleeping out on the street when we give tax breaks for the rich and people in the city? It is about not accepting the status quo. To understand that if we do not allow the Trumps of the world to divide us up, if we stand together as black and white and Latino and Asian American and Native American, gay and straight, men and women, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. Millions of people standing up and demanding a government that represents all of us, not a handful of wealthy campaign contributors. Tomorrow, in the state of Washington, starting at 10 a.m., there will be caucuses all over the state. And starting on April 27th, people will begin to get their ballots in the state of Oregon. It is my hope and belief that both Washington and Oregon are prepared to help lead this country into a political revolution. Washington and Oregon can help transform this country. Let's do it. Thank you very much.
Just don't call me. Well, is it my fault in the cold light of day? They just don't blame me, but don't really know you. I must have done something, made you walk away. Now that you're gone, now that you're gone, now that you're gone, I feel all alone. Now that you're gone. Seducing man with the lips that say nothing. Why didn't I see it? My God only knows. Girls that I fall for, they trip my emotions. Flat on my face like some bum on Skid Row. Now that
Hey guys, Dabu7, some very important information here in regards to the Oregon standoff. I want to reveal to you guys some information that I think a lot of people have missed. I reported on this on Real Talk Live last week and was hoping some other people would pick it up and run with it. Although some people were talking about it, I don't think it got the attention that it deserved. And what this does is it shows the true nature of who was involved here in this whole Oregon standoff. It goes into detail showing who was behind the scenes. It also shows that the GOP and lawmakers were involved in this whole process. They had a hand in everything that was going on, and even was striking deals with guys that caught felony charges out of this whole thing. The GOP connected through lawmakers in this whole thing, pushing an agenda. And they were heavily tied to cows. And for those of you that don't know cows, I know a lot of you out there were wondering, how did certain people get out of the refuge? How did Blaine Cooper slip out of there when he did? Well, you're about to hear in this piece of audio that I'm going to run, Mr. Jason Patrick, before he left the compound, he was caught talking. He stopped because he heard something in his earpiece, in his earbud. And he continued talking, saying that Blaine was with the cows at the FBI checkpoint. The cows being the coalition of Western states. Now, it just so happens that these are the same individuals that had the last four on the phone when the whole thing came to a close. These individuals were putting out on social media before the standoff ever began that there was going to be stuff go down in Oregon. These people backed by these different lawmakers, connected to these different lawmakers. So now things are starting to come together. We're starting to understand how certain individuals slipped out of there with protection and did not get arrested at the time, like Blaine. And yes, he's been picked up since. But there was help there that was remaining hidden. Those details were not being spoken about whatsoever. But now we know. And I'm going to play this audio clip because I think it's important that everyone realize what's going down here. And you can hear the extent and even hear from the horse's mouth what some of these lawmakers were saying in terms of all this. And in the end, you can see that certain individuals here played a critical role in all of this. And without them and their planning, their money and everything else, this wouldn't have went down the way that it did. So some interesting details here nonetheless. I'll run this audio.
News, I'm Kate Davidson. For 41 days this winter, armed militants occupied the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, but they had help behind the scenes from a group of Republican state lawmakers called the Coalition of Western States. Today, as part of our series on the coalition, OPB's John Sepulvedo looks at its previously undocumented role in the occupation.
COWS formed 2 years ago to support Nevada rancher Cliven Bundy in his armed standoff with federal agents. The coalition played an even more active role in Harney County. Before the occupation, COWS issued press releases rallying people to the cause of Oregon ranchers Stephen and Dwight Hammond. Once the occupation began, COWS started encouraging more militants to join Ammon Bundy at the refuge and spread pro-occupation stories among the throngs of media and locals. 1 week into the occupation, a group of state lawmakers from Washington, Idaho, Nevada, and Oregon met with the leaders of the FBI and Harney County. These lawmakers, on this COWS-led delegation, said they wanted to help find a peaceful resolution to the occupation. They said they were worried the anger that drove the takeover might prompt similar protests among their constituents.
If there's any opportunity to save life and to prevent any further escalation of anything, I think we all agree that we should take those opportunities to do it. And that's our intent, was to try and resolve it peacefully.
That's Washington Representative Matt Shea, and he, along with 5 other legislators, weren't telling Harney County leaders the full story. For example, they didn't mention that they were even part of the Coalition of Western States or explain the coalition's larger mission to oppose what they call federal overreach and transfer management of public lands to the states. But they did offer to help negotiate on behalf of the militants, and they even suggested that federal officials compromise with the militants.
Is there a way that we can have some sort of response? I'm not saying a promise that there's going to be a change, but a continuation of a dialogue regarding the federal transfer of lands.
That's then Washington State Representative Graham Hunt. His COWS colleague, Nevada Assemblywoman Michelle Fiore, went even further.
The BLM has become a bureaucratic agency of basically terrorism, and they have taken lands from your citizens. So at what point do we band together as elected officials and say enough is enough to the BLM? So can we divert this conversation? At what point are we actually going to do something for our citizens?
Law enforcement officials told the lawmakers they would not negotiate, and Harney County Judge Steve Grasty told them this.
Your impression that he's a nice guy, he is not a nice guy. He is a very bad man. Do not go and meet with Mr. Bundy.
But COWS members did anyway, and the occupiers said they appreciated the support from lawmakers. And at least one person associated with COWS did more than just visit. On January 26, law enforcement arrested Ammon Bundy and other militant organizers on their way to a community meeting in Grant County. Back at the Malheur National Wildlife Refuge, occupation leader Jason Patrick paced back and forth. He was chain smoking, waiting for federal agents to raid the refuge as he talked about his cause.
Your government will kill everyone for whatever reason they deem fit and then justify it. You should worry about it.
Now, just then, Patrick stopped what he was saying because he heard a voice in his earpiece. Then he said this.
Blaine was on the outbound group with cows, and I believe they're at the FBI roadblock to the south of us.
In other words, someone associated with COWS was driving a group of occupiers, a group Patrick said included occupation leader Blaine Cooper.
That's key.
From the refuge.
That's key.
Cooper was arrested 2 weeks later in Utah. COWS members have confirmed they helped people flee the refuge. COWS members were also intimately involved in the end of the standoff.
Are you still talking to the FBI?
I'm walking towards them right now.
Okay, stay quiet.
That's militant David Fry, as he surrendered to federal authorities. When federal officers surrounded the final 4 occupiers on February 11th, they called Fiore. She enlisted 2 other COWS members, internet broadcaster and former Washington congressional candidate Gavin Syme, and self-proclaimed constitutional educator Chrisanne Hall. They talked to Fry on the phone for hours. Meanwhile, Fiore worked with FBI agents to help end the standoff without bloodshed. Part of that motivation was for Ammon Bundy, who she described as family. But Fiore also knew that a bloody end could hurt the political advancement of COWS and the coalition's efforts to take what had once been fringe ideas into the mainstream of the Republican Party.
So I hope folks heard that clearly there in the end, that the COWS, so to speak, the Coalition of Western States, were connected directly with these lawmakers, which you heard. They were behind the planning of a lot of this, all the way down to the end in the outcome. Because, as you just heard, it was to their political advantage for this whole thing to end without bloodshed, so they could further their political agenda. And you heard that the COWS are the ones that was slipping people out of there, like Blaine Cooper. So, some of the questions that were still floating around in the air are getting answered now. This thing is still ongoing. I'll continue to update with more information as I come across it, but I thought that this was important that people realize. I mean, this is really bombshell. This shows that the GOP had its hands all over the Oregon standoff. And the people connected with it through these subgroups, just like how George Soros funnels his money through subgroups, there's all these smaller groups that the orders get passed down to. And is it just a coincidence that the same group is the people that had him, David Fry, and everyone on the phone in the end? in all this. They were there running people out. They were the ones with them on the phone. It was so controlled. And we said this. We knew something wasn't right there. And now we're starting to see the connections. So let it be known. I'll leave a link. Update with more as I come across it. This has been Dabu7. Much love, y'all. You'll see more here at the link that I leave in the description box. But this is an alert, a serious alert that they're putting out, saying that it looks like individuals that were at the Bundy Ranch that were carrying weapons, they may be making moves here very soon. This has been Dabu7. Many people probably seeing the headlines of the Cruz sex scandal today. Now, I want to talk about this in detail because, this could mean several different things here. Ultimately, it could be true, and that could be a huge blow to the Cruz campaign here, and it could dismantle him big time. And it could be done strategically like that, or it could be fake and being used to kind of get the same effect, to try to smear Ted Cruz. Now, this story started at the National Enquirer, and I know for most people they're going to say, well, it's fake just because they hear that. But we've seen in the past that tidbits of big stories have been buried and released through the National Enquirer, and I almost think it's being done strategically, where other outlets have come along and picked up more details or taken those little details and ran with them and unraveled a big case. Now, what's happened here is 5 individuals have been named. 5 different women. And you can see here the National Enquirer had blurred out their faces, but it did not take long for some people out here to quickly figure out who these people were. Now you're looking at Katrina Pearson right here, Sarah Flores, and Amanda Carpenter. These are 3 that have been identified, and all 3 actually know Cruz. Worked for him, have been a part of different campaigns, or I think 2 of them are a part of another person's campaign, which they talk about down here, and this is where they're talking about hush money, because they sent to Carly's campaign $500,000. Now this is real. Some are saying, why did they send $500,000 to her campaign that has 2 of these women involved? And keep in mind, the other 2 have not been identified yet. They will be. You can see here.
All right. The people in the live stream don't have any idea what I'm talking about, but people that are tuned in to Sean David Morton right now, Sean's taking the day off. So I'm filling in myself with my live stream that I do daily. If you're interested in seeing the actual video that goes with this, just look for Revolution Radio or Weaponized Talk Radio, all one word, on YouTube, and you can take a look at all this. And for all the rest of you, well, anyway. It always seems like when I get on the air, everybody evacuates because they don't actually want to hear any truth. They want to hear what they want to hear, what works for them. Anyway, off we go. We're going to get back at this.
The donation, the talk of it to her fund, the questions being asked, why? Well, it goes on, and you can see here, here's Katrina Pearson with Cruz in 2014. And they connect this to Trump and the picture being posted of Trump's wife here from GQ.
Oh, by the way, I must say, at least if Trump becomes president, we're pretty damn sure she's a woman.
And Cruz had posted this, like, do you want this to be your next first lady? And all this, and then Trump responds. I mean, this is... All right, did we get to the individual that I was talking about from Breitbart? That right when the story broke, he said, I hate getting scooped. He just admitted right there to knowing, confirmation right there, the night the story broke, that he knew what was going on. And put some icing on the cake with this incident, Breitbart goes down. Attacked right out the gate as soon as the story is dropped. Now, it wasn't long they got everything back up and back in working order, but these are some of the details of this whole sex scandal. For people that may be coming across it, wondering what the details are. This is what they're accusing him of. This is where it all comes from. And as I get more info, I'll keep you guys posted, as I always do, but it would be interesting to see who these other two people are and to see exactly how this pans out and where this all originated from, really. Who's behind pushing the stories here, because this is a battle going back and forth between Trump and Cruz. Now, you have to remember, this is how they always do. They build them up and they can tear them down. For everyone out here saying, oh, it doesn't matter who it's going to be, Trump, Cruz, dark horse at the end, it's going to be Hillary. Other people are like, no way it's going to be Hillary. Other people are like, it's going to be Bernie Sanders. And then there's this Johnson guy running for, and this is another part, he's running for the Libertarians. And they said just him coming in alone, he will bring in 11% of the delegates. And people need to pay attention. See, the game obviously isn't set up how most Americans think. Because as I said before, if these guys don't get enough delegates by the time they get to Cleveland, they can bring in out of the shadows whoever they want and back them as their nominee. Long as the majority stands behind it, and that's who they select, and they're allowed to do it. Without a single person out here ever even voting for that person. Yes, you'll have to vote for that person afterwards in the main debates, presidential debates between the top Republican and top Democrat. But in this instance, if any of these guys fall short, it could have been all dog and pony show just to tick people off, to get the chaos that they want, and bring in someone like Paul Ryan at the last minute. Is that fair? Is that fair to the American people to go against every vote that they casted out there and just bring in whoever? Well, that's how they're saying it is written. It's how they've construed everything. And I just want people to see the reality of what's going on here. This is back and forth like you always see come election time, even if it's your local elections. You guys notice how they always run the hate ads, the campaign ads, attacking each other with all the hate speech? Same stuff, on a larger scale. And, you know, these guys backed by big money, they're going to go all out. And remember, like I said before, this is just to grab the attention of the people. And not only that, to paint a certain picture of certain individuals in the minds of all the people. So, at this point, it's just not looking good for Cruz, period. With all this coming down on him out of this, whether this pans out to be true, false, the other stuff they're dumping on him. He just, it seems to me that they're wanting to prop up Donald Trump out in front And then they want to have him with all the steam he can get, all the way down to the end. And then he's going to come, what, 2 delegates or some crazy short? There's going to be all this chaos, all this madness, and they're going to say, calm down, calm down, calm down. We're going to work this out. And after 4 days, they bring in the dark horse. I'm telling you, if they do that, then you've got everybody ticked off. The Cruz campaign, Trump campaign, you've got all these people ticked off, and they feel duped because whoever they just brought on the stage, some people will be like, I've never even heard of this guy. And that's who they just picked. Well, you better figure out what these cats are doing, because I've covered it all in another video, talking about how the top GOP elite have gotten together behind the scenes, and they are backing another candidate. They are not naming that candidate. This is all in the works. It's real. It's really going on. This is their plan. And the whole thing was to take out Trump. Now, my thing is, if all these people hated Trump this bad, all these top candidates and all this crap, then why did they allow him to be there, to jump into the GOP to begin with? Because he was going to run like independent or something out the gate. And I still don't understand why nobody doesn't do that. If you're not getting the money or any of this crap from any of the GOP or any backing or support, and you're funding yourself, why even be with them? Wow, because it's a dog and pony show. You ever hear when they keep mentioning the establishment and how Jeb just fell in line with the establishment and endorsed Cruz? Do you know who Cruz's wife works for? There's your homework assignment. And then you can pick your jaw up off the floor. I'll leave links. As I get more info, I'll continue to keep you guys posted. Tune in to Real Talk Live tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, obviously we're here in a day of tragedy. Tragedy for the Belgians, tragedy for the world. ISIS has now taken responsibility for the murders this morning. We had a Marine that was killed last weekend in Iraq. I know you feel that personally. We have a law that we passed called the National Defense Authorization Act. It required you to submit to the Congress by February the 15th a plan for defeating these people. I know you told the chairman that it was imminent. Do it by February the 15th. You are in violation of the law. When an average American is in violation of the law, there are consequences. Would you care to explain to the committee why there shouldn't be consequences for your failure to follow a law that was signed by your president?
Well, will be in front of you imminently.
Mr. Secretary, that's not my question. The statute says you shall do it by February the 15th. Do you not agree that you are in violation of that law?
We are prepared. We are going to submit that report. It's taken some time.
I'm going to ask you again, or do you not agree that you're in violation of the law?
We will have that report to you shortly, Congressman.
I don't think that's a satisfactory response. When we pass a law around here, it means something. Now, people's lives are at stake. You know that better than any of the rest of us.
Well, the people's lives are at stake over a report.
I don't think it's, excuse me for a minute, Mr. Secretary, it's not too much to ask that you comply with the laws that we pass and the president signs. So
the chairman,
it's not sufficient for you to say it's imminent. You need to give us a plan now. Let me ask you about another report. You're also required to submit, when the president puts forth his budget, a 30-year ship plan for the Navy. Mm-hmm. You didn't do that either. That's a statutory requirement. Why didn't you submit a 30-year ship plan?
I don't know about the 30-year ship. We have a number of these statutory plans. We work on them very hard. There are many, many, many of them, Congressman. Let me ask Mr. McCord if he knows the status of that particular one, the second one that the Congressman raised.
I believe that's in process also and is nearing completion.
Well, under the law, that was supposed to be submitted with the president's budget request. Now, the existing ship plan we've got calls for 52 littoral combat ships. You have not amended that plan. You've requested 40. The Secretary of the Navy has told us in this room he needs 52. He has told us there is no...
All right, do understand, I just, this is my live stream. I just don't sit here and talk out of my head nonstop. And I also just don't sit here and make up shit and just go on blah, 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 blah. I go out and find real news stories, and then I take the real news stories, and then I put them in a succinct order, and then rebroadcast them in that very concise order, so people can understand the process of each day. That's what I do here on the live stream. Now I understand, you know, we have a division right now. We have the live stream listeners, which are used to this every day, and we have Sean's listeners who are listening to me right now, who are not used to listening to me every day and don't understand that. Sean does, you know, his daily comedy and all that kind of stuff, but, you know, this is me. This is what I do. Sean couldn't be here today. Nobody could fill for him today, so this is what I am doing. You're listening to Nighthawk right now, the owner of Revolution Radio. This is what I do. All right? So what I do every day and have been doing every day for 8 to 12 hours every freaking day for the last 4.5 months is delivering straight up news. Just that's it. That's it. Straight up news. All sides of it. All sides of the news. If you really don't want news, and I see that's happening already. If you really don't want news, you really don't want truth, you really don't want just the raw everything. The raw everything. All sides of the news. All sides of everything. You know, I'm not here to just pander to one side of the vial or one side of the vial. Yeah, I'm saying that right. Vial. Although you know what I mean, as in aisle. I'm not here to pander to either side of the vial. I'm here to just give it all. So here is all of it. This is what you're getting right now. So that's exactly what I'm doing right now. So at the moment, I'm running something nobody has This is a congressman that is calling out the defense secretary and letting him know that he is in complete and total violation of the law, which is a non-stop thing in this country now. Everyone that seems to be in the government is working in complete violation of the law.
Study to change that. Mr. Stackley, his Assistant Secretary for Acquisitions, says there is no Navy study or analysis that would change that. You have no 30-year ship plan to change that. Yet you've tried to unilaterally change it in the budget. What is your basis if you have no 30-year ship plan that updates the 52 request? And what is when there's no Navy analysis, what's your basis for reducing the ship request from 52 to 40 on the LCS?
The basis is this, and this is something that we decided all jointly, and that the joint requirement we're going to buy 40 and not 52 littoral combat ships. The littoral combat ship is successful. It's been good at what it does. It's better than the mine countermeasure ships it replaces. It's better than the coastal patrol craft it replaces. But 40.
Oh, also, by the way, since I got everybody, don't forget that, you know, what I'm doing here on the live stream is just it is an extension of what I do elsewhere. We have we call it Revolution Radio. It's at freedomslips.com, which is very, very clearly listed below, or revolution-radio.com. And what you can go over there, and we have we have 2 studios running 24/7. There's not as many shows on Studio B as there are on Studio A, but they are both running still 24/7. 365 with somewhere around 70 something hosts right now, with absolutely everything you could ever want to listen to, from literally UFOs, psychics, everything. It's all there. And we have a really great chat room that you can go to, which is very well managed. And we don't let the trolls in that chat room get out of hand. You know, once they get out of hand, they go away. Which you can get in with like-minded people. You know, we're all mostly we're preppers, politicals, stuff like that. Just kind of tired of the BS. Patriots, such and such, and what you can go over there at that link. You know, when we're not on air here, and we don't have the chat room going here, go over there. People will talk to you and share ideas. And many times, some of these people end up being hosts at our radio station, because they got great ideas and great things they're doing. But do remember that all of this is completely funded by listeners. Everything I'm doing right now. You know, I got, a 300 meg fiber connection coming in here that costs me a little over $500 a month. I got 7 servers just running in my own house. It cost me about $250 a month in electric. I got well over 30 co-located servers running me about $1,400 a month to do all this. So that's why we keep saying it's listener supported. And if you go over, and I refuse, absolutely, completely, totally refuse to take any advertising at all, because when advertisers disagree with what you're broadcasting, they want you to change what you're broadcasting. We have no commercials at this station other than 2 commercials that we do for the station, one being for organic seeds, non-GMO, organic heirloom seeds, and another one for a bullet drive that has a bunch of survival documents on, which I've not sold one of those in about a year. But, so, that's what we do here. I stand, I'm just not some mouth running his mouth. I stand by what I'm doing. I don't change for money, but we still got to pay the bills. And right after this finishes, I'm going to show you something I'm going to be giving away for donations here in a few minutes.
Is enough. And the reason we made that decision is that we believe and we're convinced that the money is better spent on ships that are more capable. We're looking for more capable and lethal ships, as well as more ships in the Navy. And we also
the Navy has no analysis on that. Where's your analysis? Do you have a report?
We did analysis in the course of our preparing the budget. We did a lot over the course of the last summer.
Shouldn't it be in that ship plan?
We can provide that to you. But the point I'm making is a very important strategic one, which is we need ships that are more capable and more lethal and more high-end. That's one of the themes of this whole budget. So exactly the point you're raising is one of the very themes.
If that's so important, why wouldn't you give us a new ship plan? Because your old ship plan, the one we gave us last year,
I'm sure the shipbuilding plan will reflect that.
You were supposed to give it to us when the president's budget was submitted. Now, you and your staff may not think these laws are important. I wonder why the people of America are angry right now. They're angry at law. And none of us, Mr. Secretary, I'm not above the law, and you're not above the law. Give us a plan for the Middle East, and give us some sort of analysis that's different from the Navy's analysis on reducing the LCS request from 52 to 40. And I
We
yield
will
back.
provide those reports.
My science.
All right. I don't know who's looking at the video. Don't know. So let me see. Let me get my ugly ass down here in the middle. So today for donations, this is a $75 donation. I will send you this as a gift. Be sure to put your address in there by going to the link down there. freedomslips.com, support.htm, and I will send you one of these. This is a 1 ounce fine $9.99 Silver Eagle, full 1 ounce. Aren't they beautiful? They feel great, and now I just touched it, so I can't sell it because it's no longer $9.99. It's just my silver dollar right now. Now it is legal tender, but you know, if you go buy a dollar loaf of bread with 17 or so dollars worth of metal, you're kind of a dumbass. So we will send you one of these for a $75 donation to the station to help me pay the bills, support the station, etc. See that? That's what I'm doing. Absolutely no other station, no other YouTube offers this kind of thing. And if you do, if you go over to the website at freedomslips.com, you will also notice, if you scroll down, just scroll down a little bit on the page, you'll see all these seed packs that I have to offer. Now, if you want the seed packs, you need to click on those links and do that. It's called a buy, in which I charge $3 for shipping and handling. Generally, that's about a third of what it costs me to send them anywhere in the United States. But I have to do that, and that's for tax purposes. So generally, if you buy a seed pack, it costs you $62.95 or $102.95 or $202.95 or whatever, and that's just that. Unless you're overseas. And if you're overseas or out of the United States or Canada, you need to email me. Let's make sure that your customs will let them through. If you live in Australia, we already know they will burn them up. They won't send them back to me. You're screwed out of your money. I'm screwed out of my money. And they don't even send them back. They just set them on fire. They just throw them in the incinerator. Because Monsanto has a deal with Australia that Australia will only take Monsanto seeds. So you can't send them to Australia. So anyway, that being that, let's move on to the next bit. I don't spend a whole lot of time fundraising around here, but we still got to pay the bills. And so let's get it done, please. Thank you very much.
7. We have a situation unraveling in San Diego at the Naval Medical Center, and this is looking to align right with the crisis actors they were looking for in the same area. Now, I just put this video out the other day, San Diego Craigslist ad for government medical related crisis actors that they were looking for in this area. Well, today we've had 2 incidents One in Georgia at Fort Gordon, where they were saying there was an active shooter and the place went on lockdown. Then they later said there was no active shooter, and then they tried to state it may have been part of a drill. Now, here in San Diego, we have reports that people are to shelter in place. As you can see here, an active shooter at the medical center in Southern California, and this over here says code white. Someone said they saw an armed man, that no shots have been fired. There is an investigation, but they put this whole place in lockdown. People were sheltering in place, and this is the same neck of the woods that they were looking for crisis actors. So we have two events today. Both were labeled active shooters. Turns out neither one was an active shooter event. Now, I'm going to throw in here something at the end, and I'll leave links for all this stuff and continue to update with more info as I get it. But something was recently said from Netanyahu. $16 an hour, they called the Craigslist ad. That's why they showed up. And this is what you can expect to see more of in the future. And I'm telling you, when they try to come cracking down on us and our freedoms because of this, because of false groups out here provoking things, pushing an agenda for billionaires behind the scenes, this is all about control of the people and having it their way. And keeping us where we're at, and that's at the bottom and them at the top, and that's got to change. The only way that's going to change is awakening people. So, shout outs to everyone out there that's playing their part. You can expect to see streaming from Philly coming up, DC, Cleveland, all those events. Tune in to Real Talk Live tonight. We're going to go early, 7:30 Eastern on Spiro's channel. You can catch all the live events on undergroundworldnews.com/live feeds. I'll leave a link for this in the description box. But let it be known, paid protesters on the scene in New York admitting it, and we're going to continue to expose these things as we see them. It's been Dabu7. Peace.
Alrighty. I see one by Bill Bunting, so I need to give the language warning. I don't know what it's going to have in it. But it's titled, Pray for the Sick, Do for the Planet. And in just the description that I can see here, it says, we need action, not prayer, to stop the destruction of our planet. You are stewards, now act like it. And I don't want anybody to take offense of, and I don't even know what he's going to say, but just with that comment, I know there's a lot of people that might take that offensively. Don't take it offensively. He's right. Prayer alone's not going to do it. All right? If you got a bus that you're standing in the street and you got a bus barreling straight on for you, prayer isn't going to do much. But if you get out of the way of the bus, you got a chance of surviving. Kind of common sense. I never could understand that about quote-unquote Christianity. Everybody thinks that just prayer alone can, not everybody, but there are some that thinks that just prayer alone can do it. And indeed it could, but you have to weigh the chances. You know? There's a bus heading at me, and I'm standing in the middle of the street. I think the chances are pretty certain that it's going to hit me. But anyway, I just wanted to give that little warning out there. God, it's terrible I have to give any kind of a warning other than the occasional language warning. I don't mind doing that, but wow. Well, you get a few, but I guarantee the butthurt warnings won't continue forever. Just a heads up. All right, here's Bill Bunting.
Hey, how y'all doing out there? I'm sitting up here in Cincinnati, Ohio. Y'all can see with the skyline behind me, and just tripping out on y'all out there, mankind. I'm trying to figure out how the hell y'all live like this, but that's fine. That's fine how you live. I love you for how you live. Create, build, enjoy. Just don't overconsume. But I just had two sweet Christian sisters come up to me. Middle-aged ladies seem really concerned about my soul and whatnot. That's fine, because somebody needs to. But anyway, thing is, they came up and said, hey, you got anything that we can pray for you about? And I said, well, yes, ma'am. You please pray for the geoengineering to stop in our skies, to stop them from spraying our skies. Can you please pray for Big Oil to stop raping our planet, my mother? Can you please pray to end fracking, infanticide in Palestine? And as I talked to them, I watched their eyes just grow bigger and bigger, and I think they rolled up on the wrong redneck today, but that's cool because they gave me a blessing and I gave one back. They gave me a little awareness about Easter, and I gave them a little awareness about the planet. God put us in as stewards on this planet, y'all. And well, I appreciate prayers and prayers and all that, and people's belief in prayer and praying. The point is, I asked them to pray for geoengineering because prayers aren't going to stop it. Nothing's going to stop it. I asked them to pray for Big Oil to stop because it's not going to stop it. When they asked if they could pray for my family, I was like, well, out there I was blessed, so I don't really need any prayers for my family, so to speak. I said, how about some thanks? Can you just thank God for putting them in my life? Especially my kids and my little boo Giovanna. I asked them to thank the Creator for having me and my how y'all doing? Me and my soulmate to finally meet up after centuries of being apart. And there's a lot of things you can pray for, is what I'm getting at. Some things we got to get out there and do, people. Just got to get out there and do it. Where do you start? What do you do? I don't know. I think we can take what we see behind me and rethink it. I think we can rethink how we live in it, how we power it, how we consume what we consume, why we consume it. Why do we do the things that we do? If I had a prayer, it would be for all mankind to get back on the spaceship and go wherever the hell you came from, because you don't belong here on this planet. But you're here. And I love you, because you're my species, you're my kin, you're my kind. You're the people that I look to for answers to my questions and solutions to the problems. Because you are the solution, y'all. All of y'all. Every single one of you are the solution. So, I don't know. I don't pray. I don't wish. I don't hope. I try to do, and when I can't do, I get upset about it. And when I can't do, I try to get others to do the things that I can't do, that maybe they have the resources or abilities that I don't have in myself. Because I'm by far just one man. But I'm one man that cares, and I'm one man that loves you. I hope y'all take this Easter weekend and look around you. Spring's here too, by the way. And the new birth of Christ, there's also the new birth of life after winter. The winter goes away and the green grass comes back and it grows and things bloom and flower. And I love it. It's called the life cycle. That's real. Always remember the three laws: God's law, man's law, and natural law. Only one of those stays the same, y'all. And yeah, it stays the same because you can't change it. It don't fit an agenda. It fits life. But I'm gonna walk on around here in Cincinnati a little bit and enjoy myself, and getting up to my goddess, and got just a few short more hours, and I'll be in my heaven. And if I ever pray for anything, answer to my prayers is coming. But as I said, I'm not gonna be disillusioned about prayer or wishing and hoping. I'm gonna keep on keeping it on, and I'm gonna keep on doing. Cause we got to do something. If I don't do nothing else but be a thorn in your damn side, make you think and make you look in the mirror and think that damn bill just got on my ass about this and that, and you think about it. I didn't get on your ass. I just reminded you. I reminded you. You know, pray for the sick. Do for the planet. There you go. I love y'all. Happy Easter, and for those that celebrate it, and for those that are loving spring, happy spring, and for all of y'all out there, I love you. I love you with all my heart, and I just want to see a better place for our kids and all the other life forms and species on this planet that we share this planet with. We coexist. I want coexistence. Y'all be good. Don't live in fear. Peace for spring.
Well, that didn't hurt too bad. Sorry, munching some cereal because everybody eats cereal for supper. Hey, they're Cocoa Puffs with marshmallows. The marshmallows make them healthy. And if it's not on the package, I'll write it on there. Ah. Some of that stuff is crazy that I see. Well, I guess I'm going to go back and I'm going to do this one. I don't know. Maybe this is part of what's wrong with society. I don't know. Anyway, Next News Network did a video on the new Lincoln Navigator. Apparently, it's a massive, luxurious land yacht. Why do we need all that? Seriously. I thought when Bush Jr. was in office that anybody that had a gas-guzzling vehicle were one with the terrorists. Whatever happened to that?
One thing I like to cover here at the Next News Network is automotive technology. And I remember going to the Chicago Auto Show as a kid and looking at all the concept cars and just being completely in awe. Well, take a look at this. This is the new Lincoln Navigator. Look at this baby. I mean, look at those wheels, and look at this. It even has gull wing doors on this thing. Absolutely stunning, beautiful vehicle. Now, the article here claims that this new Lincoln Navigator concept car is a massive, luxurious land yacht. Yes, Jordan Golson for The Verge is reporting that the new Lincoln Navigator concept is a massive beast of an SUV. He writes, that's not surprising given that the current Lincoln Navigator is also a massive beast of an SUV. That says this concept, which is meant to give us a good idea of what the next generation Navigator will look like, is also meant to carry that weight in a much more elegant way. Look, it looks like they changed the grille completely too. It states here, Lincoln has built large screens for everyone except for the driver to allow passengers to play games against each other in the car on long road trips. The company said that it could envision everyone's screens connecting to different smartphones or tablets, or for one tablet to play a movie to everyone, for example, or for each screen to have its own implementation of something called CarPlay. There's a clever intercom system to make it easier. I can't believe this is even included. It says here there's a clever intercom system to make it easier for folks in the third row to converse normally with people in the front. There's even a video chat system that allows riders in the back to see the driver when they're talking. Now, I think this is an interesting point they make here. They say that it might be useful for nervous children who want to see mom. Now, if you're a parent, then you certainly know what that feels like. I know in my car, we have a little mirror that sits on the headrest, and you can see the baby from the back seat. So, yeah, I understand. That's a pretty cool feature. But I'm sure it's going to cost you quite a few bucks to have it. It says, who knows how much of this will actually make it into the final car, but Lincoln is certainly thinking of the future. Don't expect the amazing, and he writes here, amazingly silly Tesla Model X style doors to make it into production. Galhorta, who's the person who designed this, said that there were never plans to bring it to fruition, but instead it's just there to make it easier to see the proposed interior. You know, why not put the gull-wing doors on the baby? Come on! You know, everybody wants to have gull-wing doors on their car. I mean, remember the DeLorean? Remember that one Mercedes? Lamborghinis? I mean, come on. Everybody wants to have gull-wing doors. Why not go ahead and put it on the Lincoln Navigator, set yourself apart, and, I mean, look at that thing. It's even got, like, steps, automatic steps that, like, come down. That thing is amazing vehicle. What are your thoughts? Do you think that the Lincoln, should they keep the gull-wing doors or not? Leave your comments below. Subscribe for updates if you like what we're doing here at the Next News Network. And give us a thumbs up and share this report. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.
Badass shirt now available. Link in the description.
We've been asked many times where viewers can send tips, and guess what? We have an answer. It's easy now.
Alrighty, and he's got another one out. Hang on, I'm letting the page refresh here. Okay, he's got another one. I'm scrolling back down to it. Wow. All kinds of crazy stuff pop back up. What? One of those, are you serious? you don't hear me saying that too awful much. But I have to with that. I'll get to it. First, let me do this one. Next News Network. Brussels attack leading to TSA sexual assaults outside of airports. So that's what we all want. A stranger to grope us.
Well, just as I suspected, the Brussels attack is going to lead to more TSA sexual assaults, this time outside of the airports. Lucy Crosley for the Mail Online is reporting that the Brussels terror attacks on an airport terminal have created new security problems with no obvious solutions, aviation experts stated today. Now, the two blasts at the airport there took place in a check-in area before airline passengers are routinely screened, leading to calls for improved safety measures such as more surveillance on travelers, including profiling and additional security checks. But experts warned that further measures would come at a financial cost and could actually increase risk by creating more areas where large numbers of people would be gathered together. Yeah, think about this for a second. Okay, so all you're doing is moving the security lines back, which means there's going to be more people waiting to get into the airport, which means you've just created another soft target for terror. So it doesn't matter. When are they going to realize that all airport security is theater? It's a farce. You're not protected, as this new attack has shown. It means that they can take these bombs and go anywhere they want, and they could detonate them and have the same impact, whether they're inside the security gates or not. So it's all a farce to make you feel like you're safe, and this proves that airline security doesn't work. The article continues here. Travelers around the world are already used to stringent security measures, including restrictions on liquids, bag screening, and body scanners, but those typically take place only after passengers have checked in. Yeah, I mean, think about how many times have you had to dump out, you just get a glass of water, dump it out. I mean, I've had to dump out shampoo, I've had to dump out all kinds of, take your shoes off, take your belts off. I mean, I've been fondled by the TSA before, you know. I mean, while they're fondling me as I've opted out of the scanners, you know, I'm humiliating them. I'm like, you like that? Be a little more gentle. Touch it, you know. I just, you know, I give them, I make sure they're humiliated. But again, the Brussels attack only highlights the fact that anything's a target. Any place where people gathered is a target. Now, I mark my words, there's going to be some new crazy security measures in place that we're all going to have to submit our freedoms. Well, how about we just stop traveling? You know, figure out a new way to get from A to B, all right? take more time to plan your trips so you don't have to go through these abusive fake screening measures to travel. I know it's an inconvenience, but we have to preserve our freedom somehow, and our dignity, and our lives. So, what are your thoughts? Leave your comments below. Subscribe for updates. If you like what we're doing at the Next News Network, give us a thumbs up and share this report. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.
Badass shirt now available. Link in the description.
I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Actually, poor folk have to have the generic ones. I've got the chocolate marshmallow mateys.
Eat like you're 5.
I like eating like I'm 5.
Oh my god.
No, I don't get this whole TSA thing. It's not to stop terrorism, and it doesn't stop terrorism. What it's meant to do is demoralize the public. Same with shooting your dog, beating you down because of a blown taillight. And then you go into the court system, and then they treat you like you're just despicable because you got a speeding ticket. It's insane. And I keep trying to explain to people this is not the first time in history that this has happened. It's happened many, many times. And many, many countries. Of course, the most common one we hear about is Germany with the Holocaust. But it happens in many other countries too that we don't hear about. It all stops with us, folks. But we have to quit fighting one another over what color the dress is. Gotta quit fighting over which establishment guy running for president, or girl, sorry, running for president is the best one of the evils. I'm sorry I get so much humor in it, but I don't let myself get emotionally involved in this stuff because there's a much bigger, unfortunately, darker picture to all of it. And that's what they expect us to do, to get caught up in all these little bitty facets. Because as long as we're caught up in them and can't agree with exactly what color shade of blue the sky is, we won't stop them. And it works really well. We've got an entire country of people falling for it. Anyway. Sometimes all you can do is kind of laugh. What? Okay, this one's got to be... Huh. Alright, I don't know if this is true or not, but we're going to play it anyway and find out, well, at least from the video. Freedom Fighter Times came out with a video a couple hours ago titled, "What? Merkel took a selfie with one of the Brussels terrorists." And we'll check it out.
This is interesting. Did Merkel take a selfie with one of the terrorists from Brussels? further proving it was a false flag. This is the image, and this is the link here. It's in German. I can't read it. So I translated it. The similarity of the young man with Najim something is striking my internet users. The selfie with high quality here, which we can click on this and I'll show you. Pretty interesting. Has Angela Merkel made a selfie with the terrorist, Najim? Many internet users commented on the selfie of the chancellor with a refugee who has a striking resemblance of the Brussels terrorist, Brussels actor. The resemblance is striking. Right in their comments, the internet users, according to most of them, is in the picture with, namely, Najim. He was filmed by a surveillance camera of the Brussels airport shortly before the terrorist attack on Tuesday. He's 25 years old and is wanted in connection with the bombings in Paris. His DNA was also found on the bombs used in Paris. And so now we have a potential selfie taken with Merkel. Oh my. Let's connect the dots here. I mean, he's got some overgrown eyebrows. Could have shaved it. Grew a beard. Lips, pretty close. Nose is pretty close. Eyes sort of slant the same way. Eye color is always the same. Obviously the same. The ears are going to be the defining point. His ears appear to go up here and out here. But we might not be able to tell because of his hair. I don't know. I'm going to leave this up to you guys. But this is very strange. Very, very strange. In fact, if you look at the, yeah, I don't know. Very, very strange. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. God bless and carry on.
Nah, I don't think it's the same guy. Hairline was different. There was a lot of differences. They looked similar. They looked very similar. But there were just some differences that, I don't know. It could have been, maybe not. I don't know. I still say, things like that, we've got enough boogeymen that we need to focus on. Going in and chasing after that stuff, and worse than chasing after it, but not fantasizing, but making our life about debunking something, or you're on the wrong track, and I don't get the whole thing of being compelled to debunk everything that you run into, or to discredit this guy or that guy. This doesn't make sense. And that's why, I'm putting my foot down as far as when we have guests on, because it's not the point. Regardless of what these guys are doing, or girls, or what they've done, doesn't change the fact of what's really happening today to us. There's a lot of people trying to debunk or whatever. Lee, Wanta. Well, what difference does it make? FEMA camps still exist. They're still making all kinds of crazy laws to put us in them. Our economy's not getting any better. So in the end, what's it matter? Doesn't make any sense. And since then, I've had the time to look into it a little bit. In fact, I did so today. Obviously, those that are trying to debunk him, to discredit him, are getting their information from sites that's what they intend to do. That's their agenda. I think we need to pay attention to that. It's become a society to where we want to believe what we want to believe, and we'll go find a website to support it. And then we'll spam that website everywhere and say, I'm right. Not everybody gets a trophy. Seriously, I say that over and over and over, hoping that people get it. I went and I checked the documents that he has in his book. I went myself. I looked. Now, if you were to actually research, and not research with an agenda in mind, you would find that there wasn't a single thing that he misled anybody on. I don't know. I don't get it. Because let me tell you what, you can go out there and you can find a website to support any view you want to support. And you find fewer and fewer websites out there that are just looking for the truth. I don't know. But I do know one thing. Lee was serious about the things he was saying. And I know something else, too. He's getting older, and if you couldn't tell, his mind is starting to go a little bit. So that's why I wasn't going, and I picked up on that real quick. And that's why I wasn't going to sit there and attack a man, not that I would anyway. Because he had a bit of an issue keeping focused on questions. I could see why. I could see it, I could hear it. I could tell. Tell you what, people that just want to go out there and discredit and dispel everything and all that, and there's been a few here that's been here for a while doing it. I'm not picking out any one particular person and or any particular person that's banned. I've got an email today. Not picking out anybody in particular. There's several that's done it. Everything's negative connotation on everything. One of them's just particularly butthurt because I helped him leave. I'm telling you what, guys, I'm not one to call a bluff on. It usually won't end too well for you. Jen knows. I won't say something if I don't mean it. Anyway, we got to watch that. We got to be careful with that, guys. Because there's a lot of people out there that's done good things, and there are smear campaigns that are put out on them. Lee is one of those people. But it's not about buying a book. It's about understanding that he does provide the information in the book. And if you were to check it out, you'll see. He wasn't misleading anybody on anything. And I'm not trying to get you to buy a book. Hell. But yeah, it's nuts. Anyway, I'm just trying to I'm trying to give you guys an understanding of why I took the stance that I did. Because enough is enough. You know, I don't try to be a center of attention, so I expect kind of that nobody should want to be a center of attention. There's no point in it. From the start of this, the whole spirit has been working together to find out truth. That doesn't mean supporting an agenda by finding a website that agrees with you. That's easy to do. What's not so easy to do is accept that sometimes you might be wrong. Hell, I'll do it in a heartbeat. Doesn't bother me. But I'm not worried about whether I'm right or wrong. I'm worried about knowing what is right. That's my important focus. But oh well. Here's a update. Dallas Aaron's uploaded an update about 2 hours ago. Deb Jordan from the Pete Santilli Show. And an update. So let's check that out.
Okay. It is. Okay, so I'm recording this, so it's March 25th, Friday, 2016. And I have a great pleasure of speaking to Deb Jordan from the Pete Santilli Show. And Deb, you and I talked a little bit yesterday, so what is going on with Deb Jordan?
Well, I did make it back to Cincinnati, and, everything is, it's different, and I'm adjusting, slowly adjusting. But, what's going on with me is just that, I feel I take every day, one day at a time, and just kind of get through what I need to get through that day. I'm working a lot on, Pete's case, providing a lot of stuff for his attorney and for his defense. So as are a lot of other folks that are helping me out and helping Tom out. And that basically fills my day, I got the studio straightened out, and now I'm working on going to Vegas, Nevada, and to be there for Pete's hearing on April the 13th.
Now, that was another thing real quick. You said that you had the studio cleaned up back at your place, you and Pete's place, and I had mentioned earlier that I had watched that original video. It was, I believe, December 27th, where you and Pete were driving to do a call to action, which is when we came. And I asked you before about if you would do it again, and I know that's a tough question because some people ask me that too, if I would go again, and in the long run, I absolutely would do it again because freedom sometimes isn't free, and we just saw what happened. But it definitely is unfair that we now have somebody that is a political prisoner that helped really get the word out, and now you're seeing things getting uncovered. So you just got back there to the to y'all's place, and you were describing how everything was still left from Christmas, correct?
Yeah. Well, let me answer your question for everyone about would I do it again. First of all, when we left here on the 27th, it was a call to a rally. It was not a call to take over a refuge.
Yeah,
we had no idea that was going to happen, as did most of the people on the ground there. We had no idea that was going to happen. I have to say 100% for sure that if we had known that was going to happen and that they were talking about doing that, we would not have went. That's just a fact. We would not have gone.
Yeah, I don't think anybody.
We would have had, we would have been able to make our own minds up and our own decision about whether we wanted to participate in something like that, beforehand. We went there. We were going to Burns, Oregon for a rally to support the Hammonds. And we had heard that there was a little bit of opposition to it, but, we had not heard that there was as much opposition to it as there was. We didn't know at the time that the community, that the whole county was split on whether they supported or did not support the rally. The rally is the most important thing here because that's what we went to cover. We went to cover that, and it turned into much more after we got on the ground. And we were put in a position to stay and cover the biggest story that was going to come out of, out probably this year. It will probably be one of the biggest stories of the year, without a doubt. Or were we going to come home and just leave, the people who did decide to do that? Were we just going to leave them there without anyone to report and to journal and to talk about the other side of the story that mainstream media, of course, would never talk about, right? So, if we had known beforehand that they were going to take over a refuge, we wouldn't have went. Of course not. But, after we got on the ground and they did it, how could we not stay and cover it?
Right. Well, it became a real lesson. Like I told you before, I would have never even met you or Pete or Ammon, Lavoy. I would have never met any of those guys if it was not for Pete. And I honestly would have never even started talking about the Constitution of the United States. I talk about it all the time now to people. It's become a habit for me, I've moved on from being upset, and I think that's what a lot of people need to do is we need to put our egos aside and just realize that we've been lied to, and that we need to re-educate ourselves. And I'm all about it, and because I learned a lot out there. I really did.
I need to get an exact.
Yeah. Well, what you just said is that you would never have been there if it hadn't been for Pete. Is exactly the government's argument that if it hadn't been for Pete Santilli live streaming from starting on December the 27th, and actually before that, they're even saying before that when he had when he had Ammon on the show, who was talking about the rally and educating the people on who the Hammonds were. They're actually throwing that in there. That if it hadn't been for Pete, people wouldn't have come, and people wouldn't have been talking about it, and it wouldn't have been the national story that it was.
Yeah, and see,
they're also accusing him of the same thing in Nevada. That because he live streamed it, and because he caught them doing terrible things to people, that it incited people to go there, and that's part of their argument here. And we have to defend an alternative media live streaming broadcaster now for doing the same thing that live streamers do all the time when they go to rallies and they go to events like that. And I've heard millions of people call for people to come to rallies and things like that, and there's never been anybody, a live streamer, held accountable for people actually showing up.
Well, yeah,
and that's part of their argument. It's unprecedented, and if we cannot lose this. We cannot let the government win this narrative. We just can't let them do that, because it will affect everybody if they do.
Now, is there going to be another rally in Oregon anytime that you know of?
Not that I know of. I know that I've heard several different things, but it's out there on the internet that they would be rallying throughout, the trial, and I fully expect that to happen. But there's nothing out there right now that I'm in support of or plan to be present at. I know that Gavin Syme is going to start a new thing. He's going out on the road. He's going to educate the people across the United States about what happened in Oregon, and basically what people can do to help.
That's great.
When the government takes such an intrusive stand against the people.
Now, the other question that was going around, since you had brought up the internet, before I forget to ask, someone had brought up that they were reading that Pete's charges were all dropped in Burns, Oregon, and that's not true, correct?
That's not true. Absolutely not true. Nothing's been dropped against Pete Santilli. And what did happen was that the judge finally relented. the judge, Anna Brown, who is going to be presiding over the trial, she ruled that Pete could be released to a halfway house in lieu of a psych eval, which is something that the pretrial folks demanded have happen before she even would let him go to a halfway house. So the moment she did that and released him to the halfway house, Nevada stepped in. They sent the prosecutor from Nevada to Oregon, and they did their pretrial hearing in front of a liberal judge for the Nevada case. The prosecutor was allowed to do that. It was shocking. I couldn't believe that it was even happening. But he was allowed to do that, and he successfully was able to get this judge, not Anna Brown, but another judge. His name was Jones or something like that. I forget at this moment. Sorry about that. But there's been so many different judges, believe me.
Oh, wow.
The prosecutor was from Nevada, argued that Pete was violent. He's the sole reason that Bundy Ranch happened, that he was the equivalent of Clive and Bundy hiring a hitman, that he, and the minute you mention the word guns or ammunition in Oregon, you can just about bet that they immediately equate that to being a violent person.
Oh,
and
wow.
so he was able to convince, he didn't really even have to convince the judge, actually. The decision was already made, in my opinion, before the judge even came out there and sat on the bench, that, Pete would be held in the Nevada case without bail and without any kind of pretrial release. So they're holding him in Oregon right now because of the Nevada charges. So when Pete goes to Nevada here in a couple of weeks, he will also have an appeal in front of a Nevada judge to ask for release and a pretrial release. So the charges are still very much active against Pete in both Oregon and in Nevada. It's just really complicated, and the government has made it complicated by trying both of these cases at the same time. Nevada and Oregon happening at the same time. I mean, for me, I think one or the other, could very well, be argued for mistrial because of the burden that they're putting on the defendants to protect themselves from the United States government. I mean, it's a huge undertaking.
Well, yeah, and especially for someone like you on the outside too, that's got to do traveling, because you were saying before that you're going to go to Nevada and then from there you're going to Oregon. That's an expense all alone, just driving people all around, like we were saying earlier. They're just racking up expenses.
Yeah, it really is, and I just don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm just going to have faith that it'll work out, and and I'll be able to afford it somehow.
So, and you are going to be going on the air here in the near future, you were saying too?
I am. I'm going to be going to start doing Off the Hook as a solo project. Pete has asked me to do that, and I'm going to be doing that, as a solo project, and we'll be back up and running on YouTube. I'm going to be having guest co-hosts and things like that, so, it's going to be quite interesting, and it'll be, I think it'll be informative, and I think we need that. I won't be doing it every day. I'll probably just be posting up once or twice a week, going live once or twice a week with the actual format, the same format that
that Pete and I use together. You know, it'll just be me doing it, but it'll sound the same, look the same. He just won't be there. Yeah, you guys, everybody will be familiar with it, and we're just gonna take it from there. I've been working on it, and you know, just getting right in my soul to do it. You know, and it hasn't been easy. But eventually I will be doing that. Eventually I will. So.
Okay.
I know when I go to Nevada, I'm going to be getting some interviews with some people and taking the rig with me. I'll probably stream live. It looks like I'm going to be streaming live, just like we always have done. I'm pretty good at that. I know exactly how to get that up and going. So I'll be streaming live, doing some interviews there in Nevada. Maybe take a trip out to Bundy Ranch and if they will allow me, and get some interviews. Live interviews from the people out there, and and start covering it.
That's great. And also, I still have on here, actually, you can't see it right now, but the donations are still set up at the PeteSantilliShow.com/donate, correct?
They are. They are. And if people would like to see me in Nevada live streaming, and they would like to see what's happening there firsthand, you know, your donations would help me to get that done and go a long way. So whatever you guys can do to help, I sure would appreciate it. Because I think that, well, I don't think that there's going to be any kind of uprising or anything like that. I do believe that people will be passionate about what the trial that's going to happen, and I believe that there will be people who rally, you know, and just like they did when Mr. Bundy, Cliven Bundy, was arraigned there in Nevada. A lot of people showed up, and unfortunately, there was no live streaming, and nobody got it. You know, nobody got the other side. So I think it's important that we do that while we're there.
Well, yeah, and you got that going on right now with the Ryan family. That we don't know what's going on there right now. I know they're making a stand. You know, I know that there was an article about they're making a stand that the arrests stop here, but you know,
right.
We don't get to see what's going on.
We have to remember, Dallas, that the family did come out later that day, and that's out there too. I know that when we see something like that, it kind of gets stuck in our brain, and we just, you know, naturally or unnaturally, people don't pay any attention to anymore after they see something the first time. The family did come out and say they did not want physical presence there, that they had not come to that point yet, and that the sheriff, they were still in communications with the sheriff was still in communication with the FBI, and that for right now he was holding them off, and that he was going to be the one to handle this. And his goal is to get Jake Ryan to surrender peacefully.
Okay, well that's good. You know, that's what we need is more constitutionalist sheriffs around, or we probably could have saved 2 lives that you know, with all that situation that happened at the Malheur Wildlife Refuge. Is there anything else that you wanted to say to anybody, and we'll wrap this up?
Well, I wanted people to distinguish and understand what this Sheriff Tom Rommel is doing. He there in Montana, Sanders County, by the way, and he's handling this the right way. He's keeping control of his county, and he's keeping control of the FBI, and he's not allowing this family to be railroaded and steamrolled. You know, he himself is being active and taking an active role in protecting Jake Ryan and making sure that the FBI, you know, handles themselves in a constitutional manner. That he is showing the power of his office. Now, you know, a lot of people are speculating that you know, the sheriff is going to cave in the long run, but we don't know that. And right now, I do know that the family is saying, please don't come here and because, the sheriff is handling this right now, and the sheriff is protecting this family right now, and it just shows you, I want everybody to see the power that a sheriff has when something like this happens in a community. That the sheriff does have the power to say to the FBI, no, I'm going to handle this. And, and I think this sheriff is doing a good job so far. I think he's doing a great job.
Maybe we need to move there.
As I can tell. Right. And he's got the family. The family is being pretty confident right now. I mean, they're able to say to the sheriff, we don't want our son to be turned over to the FBI for something like this. They totally disagree with it. But the sheriff is not saying, this sheriff could do what Sheriff Doug Gillespie did in Nevada, or he could do what David Ward did in Portland, Oregon, and throw his hands up in the air and say, I don't want any part of this. I'm not protecting anybody. I'm just going to turn it over to the United States government. And we see what happens when that happens. So far, the sheriff in Sanders County, Montana, he's holding his own, and he's very confident, and he's not giving the government any power right now. So far, so good.
Yeah, and that's what we need all over this country, and we can get our liberty back. All right, Deb. Well, I guess we'll finish this up. So if everyone could help Pete and Deb out, they really need it at this time at the PeteSantilliShow.com/donate. And I hope to see you on the air here real soon, Deb, and we'll keep in touch with you.
Yes, please do.
All righty. Well,
always just a phone call away from you, Dallas. You know that.
Well, when you come to, we'll talk here in a couple of days. When you come to Nevada, we'll see. I may come out there maybe.
Oh, that would be fantastic. I'd love to see you.
All right, Deb.
Yeah.
Well, we'll keep in touch with you.
All right, dear. Thanks so much for having me on today.
All right, talk to you later.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, man. Stuffing envelopes with constitutions. And for those that didn't know, there are 20 up there. I sent 2 out today. There are 20 pocket constitutions on the website. Free of charge. Just fill out your information and we'll get one sent to you. So I'm trying to get ahead of the game and get all the envelopes stuffed and sealed, and all I got to do is throw an address label on them and put them in the box. Almost done. Next up is Steve, USMC, and he did a video titled, "Are We Looking for a King? I think a lot of you are." This is going to be interesting because I think it's going to be along the lines of what I've been saying for quite a while.
March 25th, around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. Got a question for you. If America falls, where do we go? We are a great nation. We're a nation of people. We can be kind, generous, merciful, rebellious, angry, mean, nasty. But for the most part, we're God-fearing. We're sharing people. How many times have we saved the world from itself? World War I, World War II. What would the world be without us? I was reading in the Bible where people are angry. So they asked the priest, for a god. The priest told God that people want a king. The people want a king. God's answer to him, to the priest, was, if they want a king, I will give them a king. But this is what the king will take away. In the next paragraph or two in the Bible, it lists what he will take away. He'll take away your freedom. They'll take away your jobs. They'll take away your family. They'll take away your kids. They'll take away your land. They'll make you, the king will make you poor. He will make you a servant. If that's what the people want, I will give them a king. And the people said, good, we want a king. That's 2 Samuel. Not 2 Samuel, 2 Samuel. Are we looking for a king in this election? I think that a lot of people are. They think that one man who lives and breathes sound bites that he can't back up. They believe in him. You ask these people, how is Trump going to do this? How is he going to do that? And they will come back at you with a soundbite with, yeah, but Trump said, and Trump will do okay. He said it. He says he will do it. But how is he going to get it done? Become another Obama? Executive orders? How do you like them? The president is going to say, yep, you're all cured because I said so. The Congress doesn't mean nothing. The Senate doesn't mean nothing. No, I said so. I make good deals. I work good with people. Well, being a president isn't a deal maker. His job is to watch over the Congress and declare war. That's his job, period. It's the Congress and the Senate, like it or not, who's supposed to have the power. You know, just think back to 9/11. For a month and a half, maybe 2 months, we were great again. We became great people again. We cared. We got out of the fog that we've been living in. But it only lasted a couple of months. And then we've all fallen back asleep. And now we got a man who is saying what we all want to hear, but he can't do it. He cannot. In the reply section below, don't tell me a soundbite of what he said. Just tell me what he said and how he's going to do it. Not that he said he's going to do it, but how. How is that man going to do it? America is not one man. America is us. You put your faith in one man. The only man that you put that kind of faith is Jesus. Because he answers to God for us. He died for us this Easter. Donald Trump is no Jesus. He is no God. He's a man who's using people's emotions of anger, despair, helplessness, because that's where we all are, because we feel nothing, no one listens. He's not the answer. Happy Easter. This old Marine, he's gone.
And I think he did a wonderful job saying that. I really do. And that's what I've been saying. I've been saying it over and over and over, that, you know, the president is it's just a symbol. That's all it is. You do not want a president that can just walk in and make those decisions like that. In fact, I think that's what we've seen for the last 8 years. A president that thinks that he can just walk in and do that because he knows constitutional law, and he realizes there are loopholes. There are loopholes in that Constitution, and he uses each and every loophole he can find to be a dictator. Do you really think we need another dictator? I hate to break anybody's hearts, but Trump's already said that that's what he's going to do. What happens when you realize that his dictation isn't being done in your interest? It's hard to believe anybody would think for a second that he wouldn't sell his own mother for the right real estate deal. And you think he cares about you? No. His caring about you and I starts and ends at the ballot box. That's it. There is nobody. We have nobody to vote for. We don't. We haven't had anybody to vote for a long time. Everybody scoffed and laughed at Ron Paul. Everybody scoffed and laughed at Ross Perot. And I'm not saying Ross Perot was all great. I'm not saying Ron Paul was all great. Today we have Gary Johnson running. I'm not saying that he's all great. But Gary Johnson is a hell of a lot better than anybody else I see running on that ticket. But nobody wants to even talk about Gary Johnson. We've got our savior. His name is Donald Trump. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And like I've said, same thing that Steve USMC is saying. It doesn't work like that. Not supposed to work like that. And it wasn't designed like that. We got to figure out a different way. We're not going to get there by voting. That's how it's supposed to be done. But that's been gone for a long, long time. Anyway, here's something a little more cheery, I hope. Starry Hilder. How to make kale chips. Yummy, I think.
Hi friends and subscribers, and welcome to Hilder's. Hi everybody. Hi everybody, and welcome to Starry Hilder's Off-Grid Kitchen. Yes, Starry Hilder is back in the kitchen, and I am wielding, is that how you say it? I'm wielding a butcher knife, and Mr. Hilder's over there taking a nap, and he's staying out of the kitchen because Starry has got her knife. And that means business in the kitchen. And the reason why I have my butcher knife is I'm going to be making some kale chips for you friends at home. A lot of you people have been asking for my kale chip recipe, and I'm just going to share with you. It's taken a while for me to get a really good kale chip recipe that has been successful. Probably like a lot of you friends at home, I've gone through the gamut of different recipes, Googling things, trying different people's recipes, and I have had anything from burnt kale chips to soggy kale chips. Just couldn't get it right, but finally, after many, many years, I've gotten it right, so now I'm going to share it with you. This recipe is really 100% no fail, really crispy kale chips. And you know, on our homestead, we grow lots of kale. If the chickens don't get out and eat it, because they love the kale too. But this is my batch, and we're going to get started in the kitchen. So number one, get yourself some nice fresh kale. And you know, it doesn't make any difference what variety you use. I've got the really big dinosaur crinkly stuff kale. I love the crinkly kale. I think it makes really, really good kale chips. But it doesn't make any difference what variety you decide to use. It will turn out the same if you follow my recipe. The other thing is, when you get your kale, lay it out and make sure that it's dried. You know, when you get it from the grocery store, they like to spray it down and keep it well hydrated. But when you get it home, you want to take it out of the plastic bags, you want to let it breathe, and you want to make sure that it dries before we even get started. So do that and then come back. Big pile of kale. Isn't that beautiful? And because I'm using look at big pile of kale. But you'll see, this brand or species or variety, whatever you want to call it, of kale has these really, really thick ribs. You can see how thick those ribs are. So the first thing we want to do is remove the ribs. Now, you know, Starry is whatever. I do whatever all the time. I don't have a special method to anything that I do. So sometimes what you can do to make it go really fast is just use your butcher knife. And I don't cut. What I end up doing, I'll show you here, is it's nothing fancy actually. Let me do that. I just kind of rip it off here. If you want to waste your time, I don't like wasting time. If you want to waste your time cutting, you can go ahead and cut this. But I just find it goes really fast by just taking that nice butcher knife. And you see I'm not cutting it. I am just kind of pulling up on it and taking the kale off of those ribs. And the nice thing about those ribs is the chickens are going to have a treat tonight. And they'll eat them right up. They go right into our chicken run where we are using them as little compost workers, and they will certainly make good use of these ribs. Your kale leaves, they're going to look beautiful like this. Look at that. I just got such a great pile. Now you want to find a nice big bowl, and I use olive oil as my oil for the kale chips. Now, I keep a lot of coconut oil on the homestead too. And what you can do with the coconut oil is just simply take a big chunk, melt it down, and you can use that too if you don't feel like using your olive oil. But I use the extra virgin olive oil, and it really does work well, and it gives it a nice flavor. So what and this, okay, now this is, pay attention. You put your oil in here, okay? And this is one of the keys to getting really crispy kale chips. You're going to take a little bit of your kale chips, just a little bit, put it in your big bowl with your olive oil, and massage that oil, yes, massage that oil into your kale leaves. It's kind of every woman's dream to have a massage, right? Okay, well, just pretend you're the patient. you're the client, and dream of the massage that you would love. So that means really rub it in. Get every crack and corner of that leaf, because that is one of the key secrets to getting really crispy kale chips. And I'll show you what this looks like. And it takes a while. You know, this is something that Starry does have patience with. Usually I'm in a hurry, but not with my kale chips, because I want good kale chips. But look at how beautiful this is. And because this is the crinkly kale, I really do have to work it into every crack and corner. But just take your time and do it, and you won't be sorry. Okay, our next step after massaging the oil into the kale leaves is get some cookie sheets. I usually end up doing about 3 cookie sheets, sometimes 4, just depends. But this is the other secret. When you lay out your kale leaves on your cookie sheet, you need to not overlap them. You don't overlap them, you give them plenty of space, just like this. Because when you start overlapping and putting way too much, the tendency is to pile it on. Don't pile kale leaves on. Keep it separate. That's why you need a lot of cookie sheets, because all of this takes up a lot of space. Now, today we have the wood stove going, and I'm going to show you. We're going to do 2 different methods. We're going to do the original off-grid method with the wood stove, and we'll pop these in, and I'll show you how they turn out. And then we're also going to do our conventional propane oven, which is outside, and you're going to set your propane oven at 350. If you have an electric oven, be a little careful with the temperature, because I do see that electric can heat a little bit hotter than conventional propane. But if you got propane, set it at 350, set your electric at 350, and let's go and put these in the oven. The wood stove, we have it going today because we got some meat birds. We love have those kale leaves cooking in the good old-fashioned wood stove. This is the hub of our house. Let's go grab the other ones, but I'm just going to quickly show you. There's our meat birds. We just got them. Aren't those beautiful? I want to quickly, see, there you go, 350. Talk about is you notice when I massaged the oil into the kale leaves, I did not add any salt, any seasoning, nothing at that point. That is kind of the other tip that I want to pass on to your friends at home. Don't add any of your flavorings at this point. You always add them after you bake your kale. It's just for me and all my experimenting, I found that when I'm adding my soy sauce or my cayenne pepper or whatever I'm going to add to my kale, it does lend to its sogginess, and it affects it. So stick with the Starry method. It really does work. It's really hot, so I had to check it like within, I think it's only been in here like 10 minutes, not even, and it is done. This is so cool. Look at my kale chips. And they shrink, people. They shrink up, but these are going to be so delicious. So 10 minutes or so, those kale chips are going to be done. And this was the pan that Mr. Hilder got to first. And he ate all the kale chips. So I can't show you what they look like. But they shrink. And he didn't eat all of them. I actually have a beautiful a beautiful bowl here. But don't be disappointed. They shrink up immensely, as you can see, but at this time, this is when you want to grab whatever, like your salts, your seasoning, and you want to add it to your kale chips. So, but they're so beautiful. There is my kale chips. Now, they're crispy, they're lightly seasoned. I put a little sea salt on them, and then I liven them up with a little hot cayenne pepper. That's how I like it. And I actually like my kale chips a little on the darker side, just to give them a little bit extra flavor. You know, some people don't like them super dark. I do, it just depends. But see, it's crunchy. Can you hear it? Crunch, crunch. Okay, friends, I hope you go and get yourself some kale and make yourself a big bowl, and make sure if you have a husband or a wife, wives do this too, don't let them get at the pan before you get it in the bowl. He ate it even unseasoned. He don't care. All right, God bless you, and thanks for watching my kale chip video.
Right on. She's always funny to watch, even though I know she's not necessarily intending to be funny. I get a kick out of her. I noticed I was kind of watching the chat there. First, I don't know what you're speaking of, Bella, about me being in trouble or whatever. Just kind of let me know what that's about or whatever. But anyway, so I noticed people commenting, because I was going to ask the chat room, and I seen Janet comment that looked like a port. That was a port patch or something that was on her chest. I was curious because I didn't know if that was one of those new Thrive patches, or, might have been a nicotine patch, or I don't know what it was, really. So anyway, drugs. Anyway, and also I was wondering, is it a fad now or something to wear a miniskirt with like sweatpants or something? I don't keep up on fashion, but I see a lot of people doing that now. Oh, you're thinking hormone patch, Solly? I have no idea. I do read it once in a while when I get a chance to. I was more or less reading to see if anybody commented about that patch she had on. Now, I don't know. I have no idea. I think, and this is just my opinion, I have no way of knowing. Again, he's another one that I haven't held his hand every day, nor should I, but I know he's a big target. I do know that much. And I know there's been so much false information put out against him that I really don't pay attention to, quote-unquote, evidence against Pete Santilli. The facts was a bunch of BS. There's so many different things that were just a bunch of BS. So it's obvious to me that people are going to try and... what is it with this debunking thing? Everybody's got to debunk or degrade, or... What is it with that? Are you so insecure with yourself that you have to try and make somebody else lower? I don't get it. And it's not an attack on, not an attack on anybody. It's just, I'm tired of it. Which I will give a warning ahead of time. In an hour will be our show with Kathy and Jim Wilhelmsen. I hope I'm saying that right. Anybody who tries to attack, I'm not even going to mess with you. I'm just going to block out anybody whatsoever, or ban, they call it block on YouTube. And I'm just not, anybody that tries to run them down or anything like that, they're just going to instantly be gone. And I will do that myself, because I'm tired of it. It's time we grow up. Be big boys and girls. I know it's hard sometimes. But seriously, enough is enough. Oh, so you think that was a Thrive patch? Okay. I know I've seen a lot of the Thrive patches were like more square or whatever and pink camouflage and all these kind of weird designs on them, so I didn't know if that was just another design or not. Well, I mean, people are starting to, no, it wouldn't be bigger of me to attend the questions. It would be feeding into what you want. Let's face the facts there. And I'm not going to feed into it. And the more you try and keep dragging them in the dirt, the quicker I'm going to be more likely to hit that little button. Because we're done with that in this chat room. You guys want this chat room, so we're going to act like adults in this chat room, or you'll go to another chat room. Or come back with a different nickname. We can start all over again. I mean, that's not what I'm after truth here. But, okay, I'll say it with a different thing, okay? Because nobody's getting the point. I think a lot of people are getting the point. But the ones that keep doing this are not getting the point. Whether Pete is or is not an informant does not affect us. Period. It doesn't affect us at all. It really doesn't. It only affects somebody's agenda. That's all. My point is, we have things we need to focus on, things we need to keep an eye on, and things we need to watch that do affect us. So why is it that we need to get yanked away from what's truly important to deal with somebody's agenda? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I'll give you plenty of things to the people that want to debunk things. I'll give plenty of things. Debunk FEMA camps. But with real info, not just whatever this website said. Debunk FEMA camps. Because that's what we need. We need the people that have all this energy to debunk things. We need them to try to debunk the right things. So when they come back here, they're like, whoa, I tried to debunk this and guess what I found out? That's what we need. We need people that are worried about what's going on today. Not with Pete Santilli, not with Elvis Presley, not with Michael Jackson. Not just picking on dead people, but they're just the names coming out of my mouth. We don't need to be worried about that stuff. We don't. Don't affect us. Bacon trees. I mean, we've got a lot coming down. A lot. I mean, I specifically yesterday finished it. Well, I didn't finish it. I still have a few more things to put in my bug out bag to be ready, to be prepared. Because I can sit here and I can talk until I'm blue in the face to everybody about being prepared and getting ready. But if I'm not doing it myself, I must not mean it. And believe me, I mean it. That wall's going to come down. And I don't want to be under it when it does. And I know there's a lot of people that keep saying, oh, it's not going to happen, it's not going to happen. Yep. I guess the Great Depression didn't happen. I guess the Holocaust didn't happen. I guess Rome didn't happen. Believe me, Bible or not, we are the mystery Babylon. And we are about to fall. About the fishing thing, well, that was just an idea about a simple act of civil disobedience that should be able to be overruled. That's what that, and I'm trying to think of the right word. It's unhuman. It's inhumane. Because if somebody's hungry, they should be able to fish for food without asking your king's permission. You should be able to go hunt, small game, large game, whatever, without asking the king for permission. These are things that are guaranteed to us. And, you know, probably conservation or rangers or whatever would be good and upset. And there'd probably be some people that would wind up actually in jail and not just with a citation. See, the more they fight us over stupidity, the more we show them, we bring the dark to the light. There's not a whole lot of people that cheer on a police officer as they beat a man or a woman to death for a blown taillight. Oh yeah, you've got some idiots. But see, these events happen here and there. You know, it's not absolutely widespread. Every night you don't hear about this happening in each county. And so people kind of ignore it. Well, it wasn't here. Wasn't my kid. So therefore they don't care. Got to learn to stand up for one another. We can't do that when we're too busy trying to find reasons to discredit one another. 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians. All right there. So few will listen. All right, we're going to play the Patriot Nurse with a pleasant topic. When the vomiting won't stop, help for a sour stomach.
Hey folks, it's Patriot Nurse, and in today's segment I want to discuss with you how to care for someone with intractable vomiting at home. What does that mean? When somebody's got vomiting and it won't stop, either because they've contracted the norovirus or they've eaten something, a bit of food that had a really high bacterial count of like E. coli or salmonella or listeria, we need to get ahead of that vomiting. A note here about what happens to people when they have vomiting that won't stop. The first thing is they get seriously dehydrated. That is a big no-no, because in order to kick nasties from the body, the person has to be decently hydrated. And when they're losing all that fluid because they're chucking it up, that makes it a lot more difficult. The second thing that happens is that they lose their acid. Okay, now the body is always trying to stay at a happy balance, about 7.35 pH-wise, between acid and base. What happens when they chuck up all that acid is that that balance starts to shift, okay? The acid in our stomachs is the main area in the body where acid is produced. There's another area, and that's actually when you breathe, right? When you outgas gas with the lungs, not gas that way, gas this way from respiration, okay? So when a person is dehydrated and they're losing their acid and they're doing functionally an ab workout by chucking everything up all the time, it puts an inordinate amount of strain on the body. And that's one of the reasons why you see people be hospitalized when they have vomiting that will not stop. The groups of people that tend to have the hardest time with this are your young children and your older adults. Essentially the people that you didn't want to take with you on the Oregon Trail. For those of you who ever played America's favorite computer game. On Oregon Trail, the very young and the very old were, of course, more susceptible to disease. They always seem to die of dysentery or cholera, all right? Imagine that. Those are both digestive diseases, okay? So in the case of vomiting, we need to make sure, first off, if somebody has got at least, like 2 times worth of vomiting, any 2 instances of anything is going to establish what? A pattern. Anybody here play music? It takes 2 beats to establish a tempo. Same thing with medicine. If we see 2 instances of something in succession and we can attribute a singular source here, we're expecting that this is a pattern, all right? So we need to first off, make sure that people are hydrated as best as you can, even if it means getting ice chips and spoon feeding them to people. Get some fluids in them. There are other ways to get fluids in people, which we shan't discuss in today's video. I'll save that for class because it's definitely fun. And I'm not talking about IVs, by the way. You need to make sure that we're keeping people's fluids propped up, okay? Another thing that we need to make sure that we're doing is to add a little bit of acid back into the fluids that people are drinking in order to keep that acid a pretty good mix. Lemon juice and water is one way of doing this. Another one is my all-time favorite, which is the Bragg's apple cider vinegar. This is the raw apple cider vinegar, definitely the one you want to go with. So for adding apple cider vinegar, I like to put about 1 teaspoon, half to 1 teaspoon in 8 ounces of water for rehydrating people, and also for giving just a little bit of acid back in there. Some ways that you can deal with upset stomach after, I don't know, a nasty piece of meat that you ate or something that perhaps was not the most appetizing. You can score some of this stuff. This is actually a bentonite clay. You're not going to chug the whole thing. I like to do about a teaspoon, again, in 8 ounces of water of bentonite clay. And what it does is it actually soaks in the nasties from the stomach. It soaks up extra acid. It's essentially like a sponge, and it soaks the gross stuff out of what you ate. Activated charcoal capsules are another way to do that, but I'll put links to both of those in the description box below. Some people will use things like, Pepto-Bismol or generic bismuth subsalicylate. These are members of the aspirin family, and I really don't like shoving extra aspirin down the GI tract if I don't need to, because it kind of tends to lend itself towards bleeding with folks, and I really am not a big fan of that. I like to try and go as natural as possible, as best as possible, if we're not in a hardcore emergency situation. And the best way to avoid being in an emergency situation with vomiting is to get ahead of it and to get it stopped as expediently as possible. The ways that people really get themselves into trouble is when they keep vomiting and vomiting and vomiting, and there's no replacement fluid going in there whatsoever. If you give the body what it needs to prop it up, to keep all of its systems functioning, it can mount, in most cases, an effective defense, but it has to be hydrated and it has to be in a good balance and equilibrium, okay? When people's electrolytes get messed up too from vomiting and also diarrhea, that can cause issues all over the body, including with the heart, okay? So we need to make sure that we're rehydrating people also with electrolytes. And oral IV is a pretty good solution. Pedialyte's okay too, but I'll put links in the description box below to the oral IV. That works pretty sweet. It works pretty well. So in summary here, the things that you need to make sure that you're paying attention to when people are vomiting intractably, they won't stop. Their digestive system is bound and determined to chuck up all its contents. Keep their fluid volume up. Keep them propped up, okay? And also try and keep that acid-base balance as close to normal for that person as possible. That'll help you a lot. I hope it was helpful for y'all today. If you did enjoy the video, please subscribe to me, Patriot Nurse, and also like me on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter. Come out to class as well. There's only so much I can go over with you guys on the interwebs. Being in class for 2 days makes all the difference in the world. So make sure to check out our full schedule. There's so many people who have emailed me and said, hey, I've been trying for the past 2-3 years to get into class, and now this year I finally can. Make it this year that you get into class. So check the full schedule out again on the website, thepatriotnurse.com. I hope it was helpful for y'all. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Hag Sameach, happy Purim to everyone in the tribe. And for those of you going back to the work week, to the grind next week, I hope you have a wonderful and productive next week. And also to everyone who celebrates Easter, I hope you guys have a wonderful time with your family. For now, it's Patriot Nurse signing off, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Well, if you're chunking, that video's something. Sorry, I couldn't resist. I do it to Jen all the time. Oh, my goodness. Let me see. All right, Next News Network. This is what I was kind of commenting to earlier that just caught my eye when I seen the headline. I don't know what kind of truth there is to this, but apparently it's being at least talked about in the news. It's Next News Network. It's titled "Kidnapped Priest May Be Crucified on Good Friday."
Well, new concerns are being raised about a kidnapped priest who may be crucified on Good Friday by ISIS. Yes, there he is. The UK Mirror is reporting that fears are growing for a priest who some believe have been kidnapped by ISIS, as a sickening report now suggests he may be crucified on Good Friday. Father Tom Zunali, I'm not pronouncing that correctly, forgive me. He was seized when 4 armed militants stormed an old people's home in Aden in Yemen on March 4th. The gunmen killed 16 people, including 4 nuns, in the brutal attack. No group has come forward to claim responsibility for the kidnapping of the priest, who is a member of the Salesian order in Bangalore, India, but a survivor said that ISIS was to blame. Now reports shared on social media are suggesting that the priest faces being brutally tortured on Good Friday as Christians mark the day that Christ was crucified. The Franciscan Sisters of Sison, based in South Africa, posted on Facebook, quote, "Was informed that the priest, Father Tom, who was kidnapped by ISIS from the Missionaries of Charity home in Yemen, is being tortured and is going to be crucified on Good Friday." Quote, "This calls for serious concerted prayers from all of us." Absolutely, I think if you're a praying person, then we definitely need to pray for this man. No doubt would be a very, very brutal and disgusting display, especially if ISIS makes one of their torture videos and puts it online of the crucifixion of a priest. I'm shocked at the horror of what is being presented. If you've seen any of these ISIS videos, absolutely disgusting. I mean, I actually stumbled upon one that was like a highlight reel of all of ISIS's horrible killings. Wrapping detonator cord around the necks of like 10 prisoners and their heads all blowing off at once, putting prisoners inside of a metal cage and dropping it into a pool with GoPro cameras and underwater cameras so you can watch these people die. I mean, putting all these people into a car, shooting an RPG into it with cameras so you can watch them, running over prisoners with a tank. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if this video actually surfaces online. Thankfully, though, if this actually happens, you know he's going to a better place, and soon he will wear the crown of glory. So, Lord, we just pray that this man suffer no more, and or just, Lord, release him. Anyway, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Leave your comments below. Subscribe for updates. If you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up and share this report. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.
Alright, this one ought to be an interesting video. Our half-acre homestead. That's not what concerns me. But apparently it's about a thieving goat kid castration, which should probably be illegal, and sticky-bottomed chicks. There's so much wrong in this. We got to see it.
Hey everybody, this is Mrs. Wolfie from Our Half Acre Homestead. Today is Good Friday, March 25th, 2016. I know I didn't have a video up yesterday, and I know I didn't have a video up today, and I haven't been on the computer. I've been dealing with periwinkle. Periwinkle is turning out to be a pain in my patoot. Okay, she's really, I mean, folks. This is one of the things that we're going to talk about today, is about another downside of being a homesteader. There's a lot of people out there that get the romantic issue, like myself in the beginning, that once I know what I'm doing, it'll all just be a smooth, happy Disney song of us, going to and from the barn with fresh eggs and fresh milk and happy animals and butterflies and flowers. It's not like that. It is a constant battle. It's the same battles you go through on a farm, just on a smaller scale. You still go, it's people say, why do kids' jeans cost as much as adult jeans? They're so much smaller. Well, because fabric isn't the only cost involved with making those little cute little tiny jeans. They still have all the same buttons, all the same seams, all the same zippers. All the same amount of work goes into them, just the fabric's less. That's kind of like what a homestead is compared to a farm. So, an update. Buddy's doing really, really well. We're gonna castrate him today, and I'll do a video on that. I've done it before, but I'll do a video on it. I lost one of my silver lace Wyandotte chicks. Everybody's been asking. None of my eggs were fertile, and I think it's because I have a really docile rooster and I have really balls to the walls tough chickens. And until it's warm enough and dry enough outside that they can actually go outside, he's not going to approach the girls, because he has approached the girls and they've ganged up on him. So until he has some room to strut and show his stuff, they're not letting him anywhere near them. So none of those eggs were fertile. I lost one of my silver lace Wyandottes. He just failed to thrive and nothing worked. I almost lost one of my little blue Cochins. I have 3 blue Cochin bantams. One's black and 2 are gray. And this is a problem that, people might not even notice. But it can be, you can lose your chicks. And when you've gone through the trouble of paying for the eggs, and then paying for the hatching, like the energy to hatch them and all the time you put into them, making sure they're candling and sorting through them and humidities and all that stuff, you don't want to lose a chick at all. But there's a thing called sticky bottom, and I don't know if it's the same as what I went through with one of my little blue Cochins, but it's something you should watch out for. I noticed one of my little blue Cochin bantam chicks had a wad of dried poop stuck to his bum. Now, if you're not careful, that poop will dry, and they will continue to poop, and it'll just build up and make a huge plug, and then their poop will back up in their system, and they'll die. So some people, I've seen people like soak their bottom in warm water and just kind of pull it off. You don't want to do that, because the down around their butt is the problem, which is catching the poop. It's making it stick to it. So what I do, and it sounds cruel, but it saves their life, is I pick up that chick and I kind of like a bikini wax, and I go and I rip it right off, and that rips off the down around their bum. And yes, it hurts for a second, but the relief they have afterwards is amazing. They just like, oh, I can poop again, and the down is gone around their butt. So being gentle on something like that is not necessarily a good thing. I don't want you to overly hurt them, but you want to hold them gently and give a good quick, kind of like a Band-Aid or a bikini wax. So there's that. Buddy's doing so good. He's drinking like 20 ounces every 6 hours. So he'll soon be ready for the barn when we get the barn organized. This weather, this wet weather is, rain and freezing rain and snow, and then, stuff melts. And this wet weather there's not much we can do in the barn except give the animals more hay or more straw and shavings bedding so that they can, stay dry. But once that's done, we're redoing the barn, hopefully. Periwinkle has become a real pain in the butt. She has, being a dumb mom, a dopey mom for the first time, and I didn't catch it in time. Obviously, she laid on and killed Daisy. And she almost did the same to Buddy. That's why we brought him in the house. Oh, by the way, his milk formula is working really, really well. Even though I ran out of goat's milk and I made it with whole, hi baby. I made it with whole cow's milk. Look at my sewing basket, dear, for a measuring tape. What was I saying, dear?
Goat's milk formula.
Goat's milk formula. Thank you. I ran out of goat's milk and the store didn't have any, so I used whole cow's milk. And no sign of scours at all, no diarrhea. He's thriving. He's doing really, really well. So the trick to acclimatizing that milk to the stomach is the buttermilk. So that's working really, really well. Periwinkle, on the other hand, is being a pain. She has discovered, and whether it was by accident or she didn't like the pressure in her udder and she went to relieve herself of it and discovered she liked the taste of her milk, she's sucking her own teats. That's why I was only getting 4 and 5 ounces a shot, because she was relieving herself. And it has been a nightmare of comical errors from that point on. She, I tried to stop her. I split a t-shirt up the front and I put her legs through the arms and I put the neck hole around her bottom and her bippy, and then I put a harness of bathing suit elastic on her front legs and I tied the t-shirt to it to completely cover her udder. She escaped it, and I mean, she's a Houdini. She really is. She escaped it and laughed at me when I went back in to milk her again. So the next time, I cut one of my bras up and I made her a bra. And I mean, I made a really good bra. And it was a big cup with, you'll see it in the video. And then we had the harness at the front, and then we put her legs through the 2 elastics and we cupped her udder, and then we tied the 2 harnesses together in 2 places. And when I went out to milk her the next day, not only had she gotten to her teat, she had completely undone the entire harness and stepped out of it and walked away and laughed. So the next thing I did was I took a small squat 1-cup mason jar and I filled it with iodine, and after I milked her I dipped her teats in iodine and let it dry, kept her distracted while it dried, to see if the taste would throw her off. Not a chance. So for all those folks who are about to tell me to use the cone of shame, that's not going to work on her unless we turn it around the other way. And I don't, but still it's too flimsy for her. She's a really strong goat. It's too flimsy for her. So we're going to try and make one that is goat proof. Nothing's goat proof. They're Houdinis. And if that doesn't work, we have one more trick up our sleeve. But my point is, if she's not giving us milk in between giving us babies, she's a hay burner. She's, I paid $150 for this goat, and she's just a nightmare of complications over and over and over again. So we're going to build her a collar, and if that doesn't work, we have one more trick up our sleeve. But you'll see a video of the bra contraption I made, and hopefully of the collar I'm making. And I'll put that all together in one video so you can see what I'm going through. And we'll go from there. But you haven't seen a video in a couple of days? Well, Briar's been sick. Howie and I have had migraines, and we think it's the weather changing, and we've still had to take Briar to and from work. And it's just, we're worn down. We're worn down, and the season is just starting. So I'll keep you posted. But remember, folks, Being a homesteader sounds really romantic, but it's a lot of work. And it's the same amount of stuff you have to go through as if you were running a large farm. You're just doing it on a smaller scale. Everything, everything kind of, you still got to milk things. You still got to cut, clean, trim hooves. You still got to castrate baby goats. Collect eggs, stop roosters fighting. All these things, stop goats from killing their babies and eating and drinking their own milk. All these things, it's not something that you just get a hold of and then everything runs smoothly from there on. There's always going to be problems and vexation and grief. It's just a matter of learning how to take it in your stride. And if you're not ready to deal with the less romantic side of homesteading, maybe it's not for you. But it's me. I'm being honest, right? It can be a real pain in the butt. Anyway, until my next video, we'll talk at you later. Take care. God bless.
Reminds me of a song. Sticky bottom girls, you make the chicken pin go round. Sorry, I shouldn't try to sing.
Oh my gosh. Oh, tonight, I can't believe it. No.
Oh.
Oh no.
That one was rough for me to get through.
I'm traumatized.
Alrighty.
Can't get the 10 minutes back.
We have BP Earthwatch with one. I've been waiting to get to it. Comet Linear rises in northern hemisphere.
March 25th, 2016. You're looking at the first images of 252P linear in 3 days. Ephraim Morales Rivera caught these, and he's in Aguadilla, Puerto Rico. It's important. That means it's becoming visible in the northern hemisphere. Check that out. That's the image in the center. As it's moving, you see the stars in the background as the multiple images came in. But we did not know if we had lost it, what had happened, had it disintegrated, but it is not. It's intact. We do not see a tail on it because just like as it was approaching us, we didn't see the tail because it was so close. As it's going away, we're seeing the back side of that. Again, these are current images. They're the newest ones that we've seen. What's important to remember, this comet broke apart, and BA-14 was part of that, and it came as the third closest recorded comet ever to our planet. Now, in 3 days, and this is Good Friday, think about that, 3 days we're going to go through the debris trail. Well, here's what Ephraim is saying. He said it's been 3 days from its closest approach to Earth and now becoming visible to the northern hemisphere, rising above the forest canopy on the tail of the constellation of Scorpius just before sunrise. Now, on the tail of Scorpio just before sunrise, remember that, and we're going to go to Stellarium, and I'm going to show you something about it. When you download the free software, which I will link, move this arrow in your location finder to your location, or you can type it in, your longitude, latitude, city, whatever, and get it close. And you can do it a couple of different ways, but what we're going to be looking for is Scorpio. And that way we know that if you see the date of the comet, which is in the yellow line, March 25th through the March 26th, it's going to be coming between Sagittarius, as you see on the left, and the main body of Scorpio, but through the tail of it today and tonight. And tomorrow it will be coming out of that. But Sagittarius, they call it a archer, but it's more of a tea kettle with a handle if you really want to look at the stars. Again, set your location here. You'll pull it up. Move the arrow up to your location. Again, you can get it as accurate as you want to. I'm just going to put it here in the southeastern United States near us and give you an idea of how we're going to do it. Once you set your location, then find the object you're looking for. A couple of different ways to do it, but the simplest in this case is to find Scorpio. Now you're looking east, but once we set it, you'll see this change. You have different things you can list here, comets, things like that, but if they're in the list. But we know Scorpio is, so let's go down in the constellation chart. And you can pause this and play with it and learn to use the software, but we type in Scorpio, noticed everything switched to the southwest. Now let's pull it back flat. You see the sun, we're a couple hours ago as I was doing this recording around 2:30 p.m. Central Daylight today. Now the sun is starting to set in the west. It is, as we're doing this, is now 4:26 p.m. I'm going to take away with the buttons on the bottom certain things, like I just took away the horizon. We can see the stars, the moon, and everything else below our horizon here in the southeast. We also took away the glare of the sun. It's still in the top, but that glare is gone. It's a real neat feature. If you're looking for things, you can turn on the label of the names or the actual artwork and the lines of the different constellations. And again, the tail of the scorpion is important in this video. And this will help you with different telescopes, binoculars. We don't know how bright it will be exactly yet, but let's find exactly where it's going to be. Now, as we start this, in the bottom, you'll notice you have a fast forward, stop, and reverse button. I'm putting the horizon back in. Let's fast forward, and you'll start to see as you click this, you can increase the speed. The sun is going to set in the west. Andromeda's just to the top right. Now again, Scorpion is right now in the very bottom center of this image, below our horizon. But as the Earth is rotating, all of this is changing. As we go through the morning, and I'll speed this up, you're going to see the moon rise above our horizon. Now it is below it in the skirt of Virgo. Spike is above it. But we're going to see the moon. We're going to see Mars and Saturn come up. And in that line, you will see the tail of the scorpion start to come up above our horizon. Right there. Now we've got the moon up. We're a few hours before daylight. Notice Libra's just below it. Mars and Saturn are about to rise above the horizon. And you see Virgo, the moon. Here comes Scorpio. Dead in the center here between east and south in southeastern United States. Here comes Ataris. The scorpion is rising. Here comes the tail. This is key. Again, you're going to need to set your location. Let's go back to the All Sky News map. This goes from March 24th through the 30th. That line in the center, the yellow line, it gives the approximate location of the comet. Notice today, inside that tail loop, March 25th, so going to the 26th, it will be coming out of that tail loop. I matched the arrow on the right with the image on the left. The sun has still not risen. Mars is visible, Saturn, the moon is up. So we go through this, so that will change. It will come out of the tail and continue rising, but in that direction. Now, here comes the sun. Everything's going to start fading out. But remember from the video before, the International Meteor Organization said that in 3 more days, March 28th through the 30th, from a radiant near Leopolis, that constellation, we could be going through the debris trail. One other thing, guys, we have the new order of shirts and hats in. Go to our website. We appreciate the help on the 2016 fundraising drive. But you can put in your size, get your orders in. They're in stock. We can get them right out. This is a heads up. Be safe.
Alrighty. That might be interesting to hear. I show about 15 minutes until Kathy's show. Here's one from the Next News Network. Financial tracks of Turkey Daesh oil trade revealed.
Well, a new documentary is out declaring and proving the financial paper trail of the Turkey-ISIS oil trade. Sputnik News is reporting that while gathering material for its new film on ISIS activities in the north of Syria and its ties to the illegal oil trade with Turkey, the Russia Today documentary film crew came across bundles of unique documents which reveal the scope of the illicit business and the revenue it provided. The crew also interviewed some residents who were directly involved. The score of leftover documents reveal the scope of the pumped and sold oil and the apparent connection with Turkey, as some of the documents do have Turkish addresses on their cover pages. What the crew has in its possession are financial records which detail the tracks of the illicit trade, revealing the scope and cost of the extracted oil. Over 170 financial records dated between January it says here January 11, 2016 were compiled by what appears to be the sales department of ISIS, Ministry of Natural Resources, which carefully documented the volume of barrels extracted from the oil station of Kabiba near the city of Shadadi. The document has the name of the well, the price per barrel, the date of the sale, the number of trucks used for delivery, and the total cost of the sold crude. So what is going to happen when this information becomes widely available? How will the United States respond to their ally in Turkey now having official documentation proof of their collusion with ISIS? I mean, there it is. There's the proof. Now, of course, I haven't seen these documents with my own eyes, but this documentary film is going to present the case. I mean, the Russian Ministry of Defense has already stated, they have the video footage, we've shown it here, the oil trucks passing right through the checkpoints with no problem, going into Turkey from ISIS. I mean, the evidence is there. This is now more hard evidence. But my best guess is that the United States will do absolutely nothing. NATO will do nothing. There will be no ramifications for Turkey's involvement with the sale of oil to ISIS. Nothing's been done so far. So those are my thoughts. What are yours? Leave your comments below. Subscribe for updates. If you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up and share this report. For the Next News Network, I'm Gary Franchi.
Not quite sure what this is going to be about. It's from True News, and it's titled Pretender and Chiefs Tango with Islam. Kind of curious what it is.
And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them for fear, and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven shall be shaken. One man, one microphone, one mission, one message. True News, the only newscast reporting the countdown to the second coming of Jesus Christ. Here is End Time Newsman, Rick Wiles.
This is True News, uncensored news, views, and commentary. Welcome to the program. I'm Rick Wiles. It's been a busy week for Jihad Barry Soetoro Obama. Let's recap his diplomatic accomplishments this week. He flew to Havana, Cuba, but communist ruler Raul Castro snubbed Barry by not showing up at the airport to greet the President of the United States. Mr. Obama and his husband Michael were later given an audience with communist Castro. He stood there for an hour and listened to Castro lambast the USA. Mr. Obama said he personally would not disagree with Cuban President Raul Castro's criticisms of America. Barry Obama and Castro ended the news conference with a weird hand gesture. Raul Castro held up Obama's arm. Instead of a display of unity, Obama's arm and hand went limp. He permitted Castro to wave it around like a sissy. Obama appeared to be sending a message that either he was a weak president in submission to a communist ruler, or that Obama is a homosexual. whatever the message, the scene was weird. But Obama himself is weird. Then he posed with Castro in front of a Cuban government building that has a huge portrait of the violent communist revolutionary Che Guevara. He devoted a mere 51 seconds to comment on the Brussels massacre, which claimed the lives of several American citizens. He went to a baseball game in Havana while the rest of the world dealt with the Islamic terrorism in Europe. He danced a tango with a Playboy model, and he told Argentine students that there's little difference between communism and capitalism and that they should choose what works best for them. Edward Zoll's here. Edward, that is a bizarre, weird recap of the activities of the so-called President of the United States in the last week. I mean, this is like something from a comic book.
Well, it's a huge joke. Yeah, this is the supposed free leader of the world. That this is supposed to represent America and our strength and our values. This guy's a joke.
It started out bad, and then it just got stranger and stranger. I mean, people were wondering, even the establishment news media was wondering, why did he go to a baseball game on the day of the Islamic attack in Brussels? What kind of message was that? And then to top that off, he did the tango dance with a Playboy model. And it just looked surreal, bizarre. The whole world is talking about World War III and Islamic terrorism. And there's Obama in Argentina doing the tango. It was just a strange week.
It's times like this where, the people who criticize the True News or you for even saying that President Barack Obama does things that are not representing America in a good light. It's things like this to just prove it. It's prima facie.
But it goes beyond his politics. I'm serious about this, Edward. Barack Obama is mentally ill. He's warped. He's mentally ill. He's not stable. This is not the behavior of a sound, competent person in political power. I mean, this is the behavior of a psychopath.
Oh, absolutely. And even his supporters from his community, the Wendy Williams show, for example, she commented on that dance and the images coming out of Cuba and Argentina. She said he's just given up. He just doesn't care. And this is from someone who's pretty fairly supported Barack Obama. It's from the African American community. Even they're saying this guy has checked out.
I can only imagine what the Secret Service agents see that that we never hear about. I'm sure they could write books of weird things that this man says and does, but he really is mentally ill.
Agreed.
And I'm very serious about it. I'm not saying it just to be critical of Barack Obama. I'm telling you, the man in the White House is mentally ill. He is as mentally ill as Adolf Hitler was. And that's scary. He's a psychopath. And history is full of horrible things that psychopaths in power have done to innocent people. So the guy, his reign of terror is not over yet. Hey, Breitbart News has a story today based on Aaron Klein investigative radio program. That's on every Sunday night in New York City on AM 970. And I think he's also on in 990 in Philadelphia. Breitbart said the Islamic State has agents working in Western airports, metro train stations, and very sensitive facilities in the world. A leading Islamic State allied militant claimed in an exclusive interview. All right, Edward, you can pronounce his name. I'll do the first part, Abu. You can do the rest. Abu al-Aina al-Ansari. Okay, we'll just call him Abu. a senior official in the Gaza Strip, made the claim in a pre-recorded hour-long interview to air in full this Sunday on Aaron Klein Investigative Radio. Ansari is a well-known Gazan jihadist allied with Islamic State ideology. During the interview with Klein, Ansari seemed to be speaking as an actual Islamic State member, repeatedly using the pronoun we when referring to the Islamic State, and even seemingly making declarations on behalf of ISIS. And I'm reading from Breitbart News. It says ISIS has been reluctant to officially declare its presence in Gaza for fear of a Hamas clampdown. He said that the Islamic State has agents all around the very sensitive facilities in the world, like metro train stations, airports, and other places, whether in the West or in the Arab world. He said, we have mujahideen implanted in those facilities as workers, as employees, even in the security field in the airports. I'm not surprised. Anybody who travels and you've been in airports, dear Lord, I've been on board jetliners sitting on the tarmac watching the luggage be brought out, and the service supplies brought out to the airliner, and you look down and you realize, you look down from your seat in the airliner and you're like, where am I? What Arab nation are we parked at right now? You look at all the airport workers. Of course this has been going on. The guy running Homeland Security, Jay Johnson, his grandfather was investigated for being a Soviet communist agent. Hello, folks. Are you aware that your country has been taken over? Are you aware that you got termites running around everywhere inside your country, gnawing away the foundation of the republic? It's on the verge of collapsing.
This is the second interview in the past week from former or even still supporting ISIS militants. And in both cases, the previous one was in Focus. It's going to air at the end of the month here. This one, I was very shocked, first of all, that they're going to give this guy airspace. That this guy, as you mentioned, is using the we pronoun.
Yes.
He's not abashedly denying that he is affiliated with ISIS. And the thing I think that caught my attention was the very sensitive facilities comment. So referring to nuclear power plants, referring to dams. I mean, that's a
well,
very...
you have to wonder, why is the guy giving the interview to Aaron Klein? Aaron Klein's a Jewish guy with a lot of connections in Israel. He's got a great radio program. He's a fantastic investigative reporter. Why is an ISIS operative giving this interview to Aaron Klein?
Well, I think ISIS has figured out that hungry investigative journalists from the West will give them interviews and unfortunately give them airtime to get information, and partly it pushes their propaganda onto the American people.
Well, I got to tell you on my end, I can't even work up a semblance of being outraged, alarmed, or anything. After nearly 18 years of doing this on the radio, I've been talking about this ever since 1998. I started talking about it on the radio in Dallas, Texas, 1999, talking about the Holy Land Foundation, that they had operatives throughout the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I've been talking about Islamic terrorists in this country for 18 years. I'm not shocked that somebody tells Aaron Klein, oh, we have terrorists working at the airports. Oh, really? Big deal. Is that a news flash or something? That's old news. My Lord, I interviewed Colonel Stanislav Luna in the 90s, the highest ranking Russian spy ever to defect to the West. And he personally told me he was in charge of finding the locations to hide Soviet nuclear suitcase bombs. Mind you, he told me this in the 90s, and he was doing this in the 80s and 90s. And I asked Colonel Lunov, I said, how did you get the bombs into the United States? He said, well, it was easy. We paid people in Mexico to walk across the border, bring the suitcase bomb into the United States. And that was going on in the 80s and 90s.
America's worst nightmare is upon us.
The Trojan horse is not coming. It's not at the door. The Trojan horse is inside the country, and it's empty. They got out of the Trojan horse. The Trojan horse, you know, the soldiers were inside the Trojan horse, hiding. They're not. The Muslims aren't hiding in a Trojan horse in the United States. They got out of it a long time ago.
They're dancing on the walls.
And they have a Muslim jihadist in the White House giving them political cover. They got a communist in the Department of Homeland Security giving them cover. They've got their moles in every government agency. They've got them in the CIA, the FBI, the NSA. Every agency's got Islamic moles at the highest levels. And this country's been compromised. Retired Admiral Ace Lyons was on this program, one of the great patriots of this nation, former commander of the U.S. Navy Pacific Fleet. And he said the Muslim Brotherhood infiltration of America is worse than the Soviet communist infiltration of America in the 40s and the 50s.
That mirrors what was found in the Holy Land trial, too. Now, we go back to who stopped the Holy Land trial from going forward.
Eric Holder and Barack Obama. This is Rick Wiles. I'm sorry to interrupt today's edition of True News. The censors at YouTube have decided that True News cannot post our full program. Therefore, we are limited to a 15-minute edition of True News. This is not our decision. This is the decision of the censors at YouTube. I urge you to go to truenews.com, TRUNEWS, truenews.com, where you can listen to the full program uninterrupted and uncensored, or download the True News app onto your smartphone. Again, go to truenews.com, the full program, uninterrupted and
Alrighty, folks, we're going to lead in tonight's show with Kathy with a video, and I'm going to cue that right now.
There are approximately 2 billion heartbeats in the human lifespan.
And the human mind processes, on average, 47,000 thoughts in a single day.
Over 17 million a year and over 1 billion in a lifetime.
That's hundreds of millions of questions in a human life. Of those questions, these three resound. Who am I?
Why am I here?
Where do we come from?
Hello, everybody.
These 3 questions led to an even bigger
These 3 questions lead to an even
well,
bigger
we have a surprise tonight. Can you hear me okay, Watchman?
Hang on a second. I had that video playing. I guess you couldn't hear that?
No,
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I had that video playing you wanted me to play. That's weird you couldn't hear that.
Oh,
Yeah, that's my King video?
I'm not on your page, so I can't hear nothing.
Ah, okay. I thought you'd be able to hear that, though, in, Now, what the heck
I
did I
got
do
so
now?
many windows open for tonight, I don't know if I dare pull up anything else.
No, you don't need to. Hang on. Let me find the issue, and then I'll continue that video. Because I was just
Okay.
like 29 seconds into it. But let me see why you couldn't hear it, because that's odd. Okay. Speakers are... Ah. Reach meter output. Oh, I get it. I'm kind of goofy, I guess. I just got to figure out which one, though, won't give you the echo. Sorry.
That's all right. Are we on air?
Yep.
Oh. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm going to try to open a window so I can get over there, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't want to mess nothing up here.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and I'll just go ahead and start playing the rest of that video, and I will try to get it patched in where you can hear it.
Yeah, I would like to be able to hear it because I need to. That's what we're going to be talking about.
Okay.
Answers all questions.
A question that answers all questions. All questions. Do you know him? Do you know him?
The Bible says, my king is the king of the Jews. He's the king of Israel. He's the king of righteousness. He's the king of the ages. He's the king of heaven. He's the king of glory. He's the king of kings. And he's the Lord of lords. That's my king. I wonder, do you know him? My king is a sovereign king. No means of measure can define his limitless love. He's enduringly strong. He's entirely sincere. He's eternally steadfast. He's immortally graceful. He's imperially powerful. He's impartially merciful. Do you know him? He's the greatest phenomenon that has ever crossed the horizon of this world. He's God's Son. He's a sinner's Savior. He's the centerpiece of civilization. He's unparalleled. He's unprecedented. He is the loftiest idea in literature. He's the highest personality in philosophy. He's the fundamental doctrine of true theology. He's the only one qualified to be an all-sufficient Savior. I wonder if you know him today. He supplies strength for the weak. He's available for the tempted and the tried. He sympathizes and he saves. He strengthens and sustains. He guards and he guides. He heals the sick. He cleanses the lepers. He forgives sinners. He discharges debtors. He delivers the captive. He defends the feeble. He blesses the young. He serves the unfortunate. He regards the aged. He rewards the diligent. And he beautifies the meek. I wonder if you know him. He's the key to knowledge. He's the wellspring of wisdom. He's the doorway of deliverance. He's the pathway of peace. He's the roadway of righteousness. He's the highway of holiness. He's the gateway of glory. Do you know him? Well, his life is matchless. His goodness is limitless. His mercy is everlasting. His love never changes. His word is enough. His grace is sufficient. His reign is righteous. And his yoke is easy. And his burden is light. I wish I could describe him to you. He's indescribable. He's incomprehensible. He's invincible. He's irresistible. Well, you can't get him out of your mind. You can't get him off of your hand. You can't outlive him, and you can't live without him. Well, the Pharisees couldn't stand him, but they found out they couldn't stop him. Pilate couldn't find any fault in him. Herod couldn't kill him. Death couldn't handle him, and the grave couldn't hold him. Yeah! That's my king. That's my king.
Wow, that was a pretty good video.
Yeah, I really liked that video, and when I was listening to it today, what put me onto that video is I was listening to Steve, the old Marine, and he did a video today questioning, what are we doing as a people who supposedly love God? Why are we trying to choose a king over the King of Kings?
Yep.
And what will we get when we get Trump that everybody seems to think is the answer to everything? You know, we're right back right now where we were when Obama first was running. The whole world roused around him like he was the answer to everything. And his words were gold. People cried, people fainted, people acted like idiots. But I can tell you, if Jesus Christ had been standing up there, nobody would have stayed. They left. It would have been a small remnant in that crowd. And you know how I found that out for myself, Mike?
How's that?
There was a man in Honduras, and he was actually from Australia, and he had escaped the nut hut in Australia and got to the United States. And when he was here, he was down in Independence, Missouri, in the Mormon church, and there he took captive 8 men that were kneeled down at the altar praying one Sunday, and he beat them, and he threatened them, saying he had a bomb in his backpack. He then escaped out of there. I mean, they closed the roads down for 5 miles around that church, believing it was going to blow up. Police were everywhere. Somehow he escaped, and he ends up in Honduras. He gets to Honduras, and he gets all these people convinced, thousands and thousands of people, that President Bush is calling out for, I don't know how many thousands it was, quite a few, thousands of workers to come in from Honduras. He wanted them to work on chicken farms, and he wanted them to work in the gardens and everything else up here. And this was in a voting year in Honduras. And so this man kept using my name and saying he was working with me, but I had never met him. And I heard that he was calling all the people, thousands of people, to come to town, that he was going to get them all signed up for their jobs with President Bush. So I took that opportunity, and I actually had a teacher down there visiting with me from Minneapolis, and he spoke excellent Spanish. And I told him that morning, I'm going to leave you here at the house because it's not going to be safe where I'm going. Nobody knows what's going to end up happening here, but I'm going to go face these people in front of all the rest and accuse them of what they're guilty of here, which is lying. So I walked into this park, and it was in the smaller area of a park. There was over 5,000 people in there. They had sold their bicycles, they sold their chickens, they sold whatever to get to town so they could get a job with President Bush. And when I walked up there, it was like they parted the Red Sea. Everybody just parted, and I walked straight up to the front. And I wanted that man to look me right in the eye. Even though I had never met him, I knew he was going to know who I was. And I got right up to the front, and I recognized a CIA guy standing next to him that I had already met. And so the CIA guy poked him and said, let's go over to the other side of this park. He whispered to him who I was, and that guy made an announcement, and everybody followed him over to the other park. I, too, followed him over to the other park. Now, he was standing up, way up high on the top of a fence there, and he was going to give all the people their instructions and how they were going to get to go to the United States and blah, blah. I walked into that section, and many, many people gathered around me because they knew me. And they asked me, was this truth? And I said to them, those of you who are here, who are not Christian, do you see any of your politicals that are running for office right now? Don't you think they'd all be standing here riding on the tails of Bush to get voted in if this were true? But there wasn't a one. And those of you, I said, who are Christian, what does the Word of God say? It says, if Jesus were up there on that stage, nobody'd be there but a few. And yet they're all gathered there. I said, one of you in here have enough sense to call the police right now. They're going to kill that man when they figure out he's lying. So the fellow that came with me from the U.S., he insisted he wouldn't let me go alone. He called the police. and he could speak good Spanish, and so he told him that I was stuck in, I mean, they had me so crowded in a circle of, I don't know, at least 1,000 people were around me, that if they wanted to trample me or hurt me, they could have done it very easily. And so the police came, they took this guy to jail to find out that he was indeed lying, had robbed all their money. And of course, there was nothing that was going to happen like that. I said all this to say, when Jesus is there, nobody pays attention. They didn't know him when he walked this earth the first time, and they don't know him now. We're so busy judging each other right now and trying to knock each other down that we don't recognize at all when somebody walks up in front of us and has Jesus Christ in them so strong you can just feel it. You know it. But they don't recognize him because they're too busy trying to rip him apart and tear him down. Well, I didn't realize until today. I was reading a scripture. I can't even remember which one it was, but it talks about before this time, before we walk into this next bit of trouble that we're going to walk into, this is their judgment comes. We go through a time of judgment first. And we are not the judges, people. We are not to judge another soul. You can judge the spirits in that soul, but you can't judge that soul. And when you tear people apart and you take them down to what level you think you have to bring them down to, like everybody's doing on YouTube right now, you are judging their soul. And as a man judgeth, so is he judged. These are words that are really, really important to us, to you and me. If we judge another man, we judge ourselves. Better that we go look in the mirror before we open our mouths. Because if you want to judge somebody, that's where you start.
I think that's been the theme for the last few days.
Oh, really? I haven't been listening, but
it's been pretty insane.
Wow, cool.
well, we're separating, the wheat and the tares is the way I look at it.
Yeah. Yep. So what Steve was that's exactly the next video you're going to play, but that's a half an hour video, and it's a very good video.
Okay.
With a lot of truth in it. But before we do that, we're going to go to 2 Samuel, and this is where Steve was going. He didn't name the scripture in 2 Samuel, but pretty much 2 Samuel is all about the same thing. It's when David is
Are you going to the actual verse?
Yeah, I don't know the actual verse.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if you were, I could bring it up on the screen. I didn't know.
And let me see, I've got, well, here's where I believe we're going to right now. I mean, here's what Steve said first. Steve said, and he's so right, that when we want somebody like Trump as our king, we get what we ask for. We get riffraff. And why do we get riffraff? Because we didn't ask for the best. We didn't ask for Jesus Christ to be the King of Kings. We threw him out of here. And we let the Satanists throw him out too. We as Christians didn't stand up against them like we should have anywhere. And so we let them win as well. And you'll hear that in this next video that we're going to play. So he said, Steve was saying, when you ask God for a king, a man king, a human king, this is what you get. The first thing he does is take away your freedom, takes away your jobs. He takes away your family and your kids, sends them all overseas. He makes servants out of you. He makes you poor. Those are just a few of the things that happen. He then makes you turn away from God. Remember the king in the Bible that said to God's people that they had to not bow down 3 times a day anymore? They couldn't bow to Jesus Christ or to God our Father. They had to bow to him. And they said no. And where did they end up? It seems to me they ended up in trouble. But God delivered them out because they trusted him. And that's what we're not doing. We're not trusting God. I want to take us over here to Psalms 27. Can you pull that up and read it, please?
Yeah, give me
By
just
the
a
way,
second.
I went to the eye doctor today, and it does seem I have a problem with my retina.
Oh no.
So I'm looking at another surgery down the road here, probably in late April.
Yikes. That's
so
not good.
You're going to be reading for a while.
Alrighty, I'm reading all of Psalm 27.
All of Psalm 27.
The whole thing.
Yeah, it's just so terrible long.
I'm looking for the right version. Hang on. I typically, I try to read King James, but
that's what I've got up is King James. You want me to give you that?
I got it.
Okay.
And let me get. Oh, that's not very long.
No.
Alrighty. Oh, it is on screen. Duh. All right. Psalm 27. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?
Amen.
When the wicked, even mine enemies and my foes, came upon me to eat up my flesh, they stumbled and fell.
Amen.
Though an host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this I will be confident. One thing I have desired of the Lord, that will I seek after, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life.
Amen.
To behold the beauty of the Lord, and to inquire in his temple.
And where is his temple?
That's a good question. Because I don't know.
It's in me.
Right. That's what I was going to say. That's what I was going to say, but I wasn't,
Yeah.
At different parts
It's
in the
in
Bible, it's in different places. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, but you have to always look at the New Testament when you look for where is Jesus now. He's in me.
That's okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Number 5.
For in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion, in the secret of his...
Bingo. The other night I was having this discussion